Chapter 483. Purple light, blue light and red light shone from Toka, Yoshino and Kotori, illuminating the entire battlefield. At this moment even the air seemed to be dyed with colors. Under the effect of Kotori and the others' spiritual force, the air swept in all directions. The air roared and blew away all the dust on the ground. For a moment the earth trembled slightly. Princess, Hermit, Fire Devil. Jinna was completely dumbfounded. He stared at the three girls with their spirit outfits. Even though he already knew that they were elves, he still couldn't react after seeing them in spirit form. After all, the three elves were summoning their spiritual equipment and angels at the same time. Furthermore, they were standing on the same side. Who would be able to witness such a scene? Plus, their opponent is another elf. A battle between four elves and a powerhouse who isn't any weaker than an elf. Such a scene could be said to be unprecedented. In front of everyone, Kurumi's face turned ugly as she looked at the three elven girls. She couldn't help but take a step back. In her heart she was already thinking of retreating. No matter how crazy Kurumi is, she didn't think she could take on three elves at full power. Plus, Wu Yan just destroyed all of her avatars. Kurumi is starting to get scared of the fight. Even the main body had such a reaction, let alone the last remaining berserker. She was in midair looking down at the four people facing off against the main body. Her face was full of shock, and she subconsciously wanted to get as far away from the center of the battlefield as possible. Of course, she has to get permission from the others. Trying to run? A voice rang out behind Kurumi in the sky. The timid Kurumi trembled and quickly turned around. Soon she saw Kotori with a scornful smile on her face. Her entire body was wrapped in flames. She was holding a huge battle axe in her hand. That gift. Kotori's expression darkened when she recalled how Wu Yan took Kurumi's attack to protect her. She raised her battle axe and she brought it down on Kurumi's horrified face. Now I'll return it to you. Boom. Kotori's voice faded and the huge flaming axe smashed into Kurumi's body. Surging flames scattered on Kurumi's body. Kurumi didn't even have time to scream before she turned into ashes. At this point, Kurumi's final attack was obliterated by Kotori's attack. Looking at the scene of Lei Feng being killed in the sky, Kuang San's face was extremely gloomy. Her delicate body trembled slightly and her wine-red eyes flashed with a bloody light. This was a sign of extreme anger. So powerful. At the same time, Jinna, who had caught sight of this scene, murmured in a daze. She did not expect that in the blink of an eye the commanding officer who she had thought to be harmless would kill her in such a straightforward manner. Shinna used to be the strongest in AST. She knew she wouldn't have a good ending if she were to face her. Not only Shinna, Toka and Yoshino, who have never seen Kotori's strength before, are also shocked. Only Wu Yan's eyes flashed. Kotori Itsuka. Level 78. Kotori's level is no lower than Ikaros and Toka. Kotori's body is covered in flames. She's expressionless as if she just did something insignificant. She turned into a streak of fire and landed beside Wu Yan's group like a meteor. Kotori raised her head and looked at Kurumi. She raised her axe and smiled. Begin saw the battle between us. Hearing this, everyone laughed and raised their weapons at Kuang San. In the next moment, under Kuang San's slightly pale and fearful expression, everyone began to move. 10 Incense raised her giant sword and took the lead. She leaped into the air and spun around. Then she held her sword with both hands and slashed down at Kuang San, who was not far away. A sharp sword light exploded like an arrow. It shot out from the huge sword in 10 Fragrance's hand with a burst of ear-piercing whistling sound as it fell on the ground. The ground cracked inch by inch. The terrifying sword wave cut through the rock stratum and attacked Kuang San. Before the sword wave reached her, the remaining power blew on Kuang San's body. Her face changed as she realized the power of the sword wave. She didn't think much and screamed loudly. Zafkiel. Aleph. A huge clock with an illusionary wheel appeared behind Kuang San's back. Almost instantly, the golden clock in Kuang San's left eye started to spin crazily. A black-red chi flow rolled out, turning into a black light bullet in the handgun, shooting into Kuang San's body and accelerating his own time. Within a blink of an eye, he disappeared from where he was, dodging the incoming sword wave and reappearing not far away. However, the moment Kuang San appeared, his expression changed once more. A blue-white stream of air shot over like a ray of light. The stream of air was even larger than Kuang San's height. It brought a chill that made Kuang San's hair stand on end. In an instant it arrived in front of Kuang San. Kuang San clenched his teeth and used all of his strength to dodge to the side. The blue and white airflow flashed past Kuang San and hit the ground behind him. The ground immediately turned into ice, releasing cold air. Kuang San didn't doubt that if this cold air hit him he would be sealed in ice. This horrifying cold current was naturally the handiwork of the fourth Bono. Kurumi turned her head to look at Yoshino. At this time, Yoshino was controlling the rabbit puppet. He opened his mouth and spat out a cold airflow towards Kurumi. Damn! Kurumi angrily raised her head. She pointed her handguns at the huge clock behind her and the long rifle at the number 7. She absorbed the black and red airflow and shot it out. The black bullet collided with the airflow. It didn't cause any sound. The airflow was covered by a black transparent shield and stopped in midair. It couldn't move forward anymore. Seeing this scene, Yoshino slightly showed a trace of panic which made Kurumi sneer again and again. Even if he is an elf, he is still a child in the end. Please leave here first. The long rifle pointed at the number 7. Black and red airflow flowed into the muzzle. Kurumi directly aimed at Yoshino and pulled the trigger without hesitation. Don't even think about it. When the black bullet was about to hit Yoshino, Toka's body flashed in front of Yoshino. She raised her greatsword high above her head and slashed down. The black bullet was shattered. What a hindrance! Kuang San angrily glared at Ten Incense. Just as she was about to raise her spears again, a scorching aura flashed through every corner of the battlefield. The anger on Kuang San's face froze. She jerked her head up to look. Then a horrified expression crawled onto her face. Wu Yan and Kodori stood side by side in the sky. Their bodies were covered in flames as they stomped on the flames. Kodori raised her axe and the blade of the axe retracted into itself, turning it into a heavy cannon. At the same time, crimson spatial ripples appeared behind Wu Yan. A large amount of iron sand swarmed out and wrapped around the blazing red lotus. Soon an iron sand cannon was formed. In the next second, the two who were wrapped in flames raised their heavy cannons at the same time and pointed them at Kurumi. Chapter 484. Everyone raised their heads to look at the sky. They were holding heavy cannons pointing at Kuang San and Kuang San. They were like fire spirits standing on a platform made of flames. The hot flames swept back and forth on their bodies, turning into flaming ribbons that floated around them. At this moment, perhaps no one would doubt that they were brother and sister. Because they were both manipulators of flames, and they were both existences that were favored by flames. As they stood side by side, the two of them who were surrounded by flames had simply transformed into the most compatible twins in the world. At a certain moment, the flames on Kodori's body began to spread to the heavy cannon in her hand. The flames turned into liquid and flowed into the heavy cannon like a water pipe. As the flames flowed into the cannon, the heavy cannon in Kodori's hand flashed with a fiery red light. At the same time, Wu Yan's iron sand cannon trembled and flashed with flames. Unlike Kodori, the iron sand cannon's interior is burning. The flames rolled around inside the cannon and turned into a beam of light. Time seemed to have stopped for a moment. Burning Demon Destroyer Cannon, Camel, Megiddo. Extreme Impact, Small Flame. Two cold voices reverberated in the silent space. As the voices rang out, the surrounding atmosphere started to flow rapidly. A fiery red-hot aura spread and enveloped the entire place. A pair of red and gold eyes stared at the two fiery red cannons aimed at her. Kurong 3's pretty face was so pale that there wasn't a trace of blood in it. The alarm in her heart was ringing wildly, and the feeling of danger kept bursting out in her heart, reminding her that she had to leave this place. However, under the aim of the heavy cannons, Kuang San's body was immobilized by a majestic pressure. He was unable to move at all. All he could do was watch the two people in the sky swing the heavy cannons in their hands at him, burned to ashes. The muzzles of the two heavy cannons flashed with a dazzling red light vortex, bringing with it a dense flame wave. Under Kuang 3's desperate look, two terrifying flame beams were shot out from the two heavy cannons, striking towards Kuang 3 at an extremely high speed. Boom, Two beams of fire mercilessly shot toward Kuang San, covering all sound and enveloping Kuang San within the light of the fire. Following a loud explosion that sounded like thunder, the sound of mountains collapsing and the earth cracking also exploded under the sky. A fierce wind that carried a blazing temperature swept out in all directions like a storm from the very center. Everywhere it passed, smoke and dust would rise, and the ground would crack open. The wind blew towards Wu Yan and Coterie, but it was burned into nothingness by the flames around them. The two looked at the ground and gently put down their cannons. Wu Yan stood beside Coterie. The moment he put down his iron sand cannon, a crack appeared on it. After a while, the iron sand cannon collapsed with a bang, revealing the Nyamano Shana inside. Wu Yan sighed as expected. The Iron Sand and Gate of Babylon is AD tier equipment after being turned into a Knight of No bare-handed. Even so, the Iron Sand couldn't withstand the full power of Niatono no Shana. Furthermore, Wu Yan condensed the Red Lotus Flame into a fire beam. The Iron Sand couldn't withstand the full power of Niatono no Shana and it crumbled. Luckily, it was an Iron Sand that had turned into a noble relic. If it was an ordinary Iron Sand, it would have turned into molten iron in an instant, let alone condensing it into a fire beam. Even if it was wrapped around the heavy cannon, it would have turned into molten iron in an instant. Of course, Wu Yan is satisfied with the power of Impact, Miniature Flame. It's not as powerful as the full version of Impact, Lightning Fall, or Coterie's Camel Megiddo. However, it's still a lot stronger than the railgun. Shido. Toka and Yoshino flew to Wu Yan and Coterie's side. They looked at the dust-covered area and asked, "Did you win?" "I think so." Wu Yan looked down and said, "Coterie and I purposely avoided Kurumi and only attacked her Zafkiel. I don't think she suffered any fatal damage. However, without the Zafkiel, Kurumi can't fight anymore. So it's like this." Toka and Yoshino let out a sigh of relief and smiled. It wasn't that they were happy about their victory, but for them, it was a good thing that this battle could end as soon as possible. After all, the two women didn't like to fight. While Wu Yan, Toka, Yoshino and the others looked down, Coterie lowered her head in silence. Her red eyes that are hidden under her bangs flashed a fiery red light. Coterie clutched her forehead in pain. "What's wrong, Coterie?" Coterie's strange behavior caught Wu Yan's attention. Wu Yan quickly helped her up when he sensed something wrong with her. "I'm fine," Coterie said softly. Her trembling voice proves that she's not fine. Wu Yan frowned. He saw the fire on Coterie's body expanding uncontrollably. His face sank. "Coterie, is your spiritual force going out of control?" "Spiritual force going out of control?" Toka and Shiyu turned pale with fright. As elves, no one knew better than them what the consequences of losing control of spiritual power would be. Yoshino, in particular, knows the consequences of spiritual force going out of control. She's the kind of person who will lose control of her spiritual force if she's afraid. "You found out, huh?" Coterie flashed him an ugly grin. Her red eyes glowed red. Wu Yan furrowed his brows when he saw this. "Let's go down first." Wu Yan flew down after helping Coterie up. Toka and Yoshino quickly followed. The four landed in front of Shina. "Looks like it's a success." Shina smiled. The wounds on her body made her unable to move too much. She could only hold Shirori and sit on the ground, unable to get up. At this time, Shina also noticed Coterie's abnormality. "What's wrong?" "Nothing, I just overused my power. It's just a small problem," Wu Yan said with a smile. Indeed, for Wu Yan, who can seal Coterie's power at any time, this is just a small problem. Wu Yan let go of Coterie and Toka supported her. He turned towards Kurumi's direction. The dust settled down and Wu Yan could see the scene inside the building. Under the attack of the two fire beams, the ground was filled with cracks. Broken rocks were everywhere. The battered and exhausted rock plate was exposed to the air. In the center there was a black hole. Kuang San was covered with wounds. She was lying in the hole. Her red and black Gothic dress had been charred black. Wu Yan sighed and walked towards Kurumi. He looked down at her in silence. Kuang San's body moved slightly, but a sharp pain immediately climbed into her head, causing her to stop her meaningless movements. A sense of powerlessness from the bottom of her heart spread throughout her body. It was as if all her strength had been sucked out, causing her to lie motionlessly in the empty space. A pair of red and a pair of golden eyes were filled with confusion. She was looking at the sky with a deathly stillness. A sad aura was emitted from her body. At this moment Kuang San looked pitiful. Chapter 485. Lying in the scorched hole, Kuang San opened her eyes with different colors. She looked at the sky, the clouds and the birds flying by. At this moment Kuang San was only at a loss. I lost. A pair of pupils slowly fluctuated. Although there was a smile on her face, there wasn't the slightest trace of a smile. Instead, it revealed a deathly stillness, proving Kuang San's current state of mind. Looking at the distant sky, Kuang San wanted to reach out her hand to grab something. However, she had already lost all her strength. She could only stifle this thought in her heart. Kuang San couldn't help but laugh. Although her laughter was light, it wasn't hard to hear the sadness in it. "It's over," Kuang San murmured softly. Although her heart was filled with unwillingness and sadness, she also felt relieved, as if a heavy burden had been lifted off her shoulders. Kuang San didn't know what she was thinking at this time. After an unknown amount of time, a figure slowly appeared in Kuang San's line of sight. When her multicolored eyes reflected the other party's face, a strange ripple appeared in her eyes. Ah. Kuang San forced an ugly smile. She said with difficulty, "Come to admire the attitude of a loser? What a bad taste, what a bad taste." Hearing this, Wu Yan sighed. "Is that all you have to say about me?" Kuang San laughed. Her laughter was incomparably sarcastic. "Do you think that if you bring me pain I will wake up? If that's the case, then I'll have to disappoint you." Kuang San looked at the sky again. "I've never regretted anything I've done." "I thought so too. After all, although you look crazy, you're surprisingly persistent." Wu Yan shook his head with a wry smile and looked down at Kuang San. "Do you want to listen to a story?" "Story?" Kuang San stared at Wu Yan's wine-red eyes. Kuang San stared straight at Wu Yan's wine-red eyes and said nothing. Wu Yan smiled and raised his head. He looked at the sky and softly told Kuang San the story in a slightly absent-minded tone. "A long time ago, I don't know how many years ago, there was a girl. Her name was Artoria. Artoria was born in a time of war. Although she was a girl, she had a righteous heart. She longed to be a knight who could help the weak and help the people and the country. At that time, a very famous archmage, Merlin, once prophesied that one day Artoria would pull out a sword specially used to select a king, the sword in the stone, and become the new king of Britain. By chance, Artoria was given the opportunity to come into contact with the sword in the stone. She was also given the opportunity to pull out the sword in the stone. When Artoria chose to pull out the sword in the stone, the great magician Merlin said something to her. "If you pull out the sword in the stone, you will no longer be a human." When Artoria heard it, she did not hesitate to pull out the sword in the stone. She even abandoned her identity as a woman and disguised herself as a man. She became a king and led the people of her country. On that day, Artoria lost two identities. One was a woman, and the other was a human. Thus, she gained another identity, which was a king. From that moment on, Artoria no longer cared about her feelings. She only cared about her country and her people. After she became the new king, she rushed into the battlefield like a man. In 10 years, she won 12 wars in a row and brought the kingdom of Britain to its peak. Even if she shed her blood on the battlefield, she did it for her country. Artoria protected her people and took responsibility for everything. However, after she picked up the sword in the stone, the magic of the sword in the stone stopped Artoria's body from growing. She maintained the appearance of a young girl. This caused the people to worry and distrust her. They even said that King Arthur didn't understand people's hearts. Finally, one day, many factors led to one cause. A battle began. In this battle, the people who stood in front of Artoria were her former subjects. In the end, the king died and so did the subjects. Kurumi couldn't help but frown. She glanced at Wu Yan coldly. "So, this is your story? The story of the protagonist's death?" Wu Yan glanced at Kurumi and ignored her. He continued, "Before Artoria died, she made a contract with the world and became a heroic spirit. She was going to participate in a war where she could get the Holy Grail as long as she won. After Artoria got the Holy Grail, she wanted to go back to the moment when she pulled out the sword in the stone. She wanted to stop herself from becoming a king, so that she could choose a new king to protect her country. Kurumi's body trembled violently. Her eyes, which were filled with confusion and death, suddenly turned to Wu Yan. There was an unconcealable fluctuation in her eyes. Seeing the indescribable fluctuation in Kurumi's eyes, Wu Yan smiled bitterly and said, in order to fulfill her duty as a king, she gave up a lot of things. She fought for her country. Since she had such a will, even if she was destroyed in the end, why should she start over again? The king protected the country, but the country didn't protect the king. The end result was tragic, but there was no regret in the process. So why should she strive for perfection? There is no such thing as perfection in the world. In order to get one thing, she gave up a lot of things. Is it really necessary? Wu Yan's gaze pierced through Kurumi's face like lightning. It pierced through her heart. Kurumi, Artoria gave up so much to get a perfect result. What did she get in the end? Stop. Kurumi closed her eyes and murmured in a trembling voice. Even if the Holy Grail War was won and Artoria went back to the past and changed the future, would the result be the same? Stop. It was the same words, the same expression, but there was a trace of pleading in her voice. She gave up so many things. What about you? What did you give up to get a perfect result? Stop, stop. Her voice trembled even more, but the pleading was gone. It was replaced by a faint madness. Or are you saying that you have nothing left to give up, and that's why you chose this path? Stop it. Stop it. I told you to stop. Kurumi opened her bloodshot eyes and screamed at Wu Yan. But after she screamed, tears flowed out of her eyes. Tears streaked across her pale cheeks and dripped to the ground. She used all her remaining strength to shout at Wu Yan, yes. I was wrong. I was crazy. But I didn't do it. What else can I do? What am I living for in this world? My existence. What's the use of it? If what you lack is the meaning of your existence, I will give it to you now. Kurumi was stunned. Wu Yan bent down and wiped the tears off Kurumi's face. It was the same thing he did for the dead Kurumi in the zoo. Your existence is just for me. From now on you are mine. Without my permission you can't die. Kurumi stared at Wu Yan's smiling face. Her pupils fluctuated violently and then slowly became silent. Gradually she became absent-minded. Chapter 486. The same place, different situation, but the same result, the same action, different words, and the same heart. Last time when Kurumi and Wu Yan had a date, they chose this zoo as the location. At that time, Wu Yan used to lie to convince Kurumi of some facts. Kurumi knew that from that moment onwards, the conviction she held onto for so long started to crack. However, Kurumi didn't want to admit it. She didn't want to. Even if this was the truth, she couldn't admit it. Because admitting it was the same as admitting that everything she did in the past was meaningless. Ever since coming to this world, Kurumi was the same as Toka and Yoshino. She was ambushed by humans and slowly survived. However, she wasn't as lucky as the other two. No one lent her a helping hand. In the end, Kurumi had to kill a human. Since then, killing had become Kwang-san's instinct. Kwang-san used killing to numb her nerves. She used killing to gain pleasure and the meaning of survival. In the end, in the endless slaughter, Kwang-san's heart became more and more damaged. In the end, he was riddled with holes and couldn't turn back. At this time, Kwang-san began to think. What was the meaning of his existence? In the end, Kurumi came to a conclusion. Her existence was meaningless because she didn't have a future. Since there was no future, she could only deny the past. Thus, Kurumi began to pursue the path of the past. However, the most ironic thing was that this path of pursuing the past was still achieved by killing people. Kurumi wanted to laugh. She did laugh, but it was enough to make people sad. Now the path of pursuing the past was completely denied by Wu Yan. Kurumi couldn't help but go crazy. Since she had no future and no past, what was the meaning of her existence? Your existence is only for me. From now on you are mine. Without my permission you can't die. My existence is only for you. Kurumi absent-mindedly watched Wu Yan, who was gently wiping the tears off her cheeks. Her thoughts drifted back to that day when her doppelganger was killed by Chongong Shina. She hid in a corner and observed what happened after that. The man in front of her was also like this, wiping away the blood on her face when she was about to die. At that time he said, Abandoning the past is always an escape. Only by facing the past and accepting it can you face the future. If you don't even have the courage to accept your past, then how can you walk towards the future? How could he change the past? Huang San would never forget that time when the man in front of her looked at her past and whispered, "I really want to save you this time. Is it possible for me to be saved?" Kurumi subconsciously said this sentence, which made Wu Yan, who was wiping her tears, pause. Sighing, Wu Yan showed a sly smile, stroked Kurumi's cheek and said with a smile, "You can't refuse me." Kurumi's eyes flickered intensely. After a while she smiled. "Ah la la la, you're actually imitating other people's words. How cunning." Wu Yan shrugged and shrugged. "Who told you to be so overbearing in the past? I can't help it. If I don't act overbearing this once, I will lose my standing in front of you in the future. But if I remember correctly, Sherdao, you've refused me many times, so?" Wu Yan looked at Kurumi with a smile. "Don't try to refuse me. You're really overbearing." Kurumi smiled bitterly, but then she couldn't help but lick her lips, the corner of her mouth raised into an evil smile. "But I don't hate it." Seeing Kurumi's signature smile, Wu Yan's body shook. He laughed dryly. He felt like he made a wrong decision. At this time in the distant sky, a large number of stars began to flicker. With a faint sound of breaking wind, it rang in the ears of everyone present, attracting everyone's attention. That is. Seeing this familiar scene, the people present looked at each other in dismay. Then they revealed a bitter smile at the same time. They're really like the police of the 21st century. They're either disrupting or cleaning things up." Wu Yan shook his head and laughed. He picked up Kurumi from the ground and walked to Kotori's side. "The people from AST are here. Let's go back to Fraxinus first. Should we bring her along?" Shina stood up with Toka's help. She looked at Kurumi in Wu Yan's arms and frowned. "Well, Kurumi has lost her ability to fight back. It'll be easier to deal with her if we bring her back to Fraxinus." Wu Yan didn't seem worried at all. This made Shina feel helpless. Wu Yan looked at Kotori, who seemed to be in pain. He asked with concern, "Kotori, are you all right?" Kotori nodded with difficulty. She didn't say anything, of course. It's possible that she can't speak. Anyone with a discerning eye can tell she can't hold on much longer. Wu Yan quickly said, "Kotori, hold on a little longer. I'll seal your soul force when we get back to Fraxinus." Wu Yan didn't wait for Kotori's reply. He spoke into the radio. "Rain, teleport everyone back." With that said, an illusory light enveloped everyone. When the light faded away, Wu Yan and Ko disappeared from the spot as well. Everyone's vision blurred, and when they could see clearly again, they saw the teleportation device in Fraxinus. Kanazuki Kuhei and Murasame Rain also ran in from an automatic door and stood in front of everyone. "Everyone, are you all right?" Murasame Rain looked at everyone. She then looked at Kurumi in Wu Yan's arms with dark circles under her eyes. "Rain, take Kurumi, Shina, and Shirori to get treated." Wu Yan handed Kurumi over to Murasame Rain. Wu Yan didn't know if it's just his imagination, but Murasame Rain seems to be more serious than usual. "I understand." Murasame Rain took Kurumi from Wu Yan's arms. Kanazuki Kuhei also helped Shina up. He picked up Shirori and followed Murasame Rain out of the room. Wu Yan let out a sigh of relief after Murasame Rain and the others disappeared from behind the automatic door. He looked at Kotori and the others and raised his hand. "Seal." 3 sealing bracelets lit up in his hand. Red runes appeared on the edges of each bracelet. Kotori, Toka, and Yoshino's spirit energy gradually quieted down and was sealed away. But in the next moment, Wu Yan's eyes widened a few times. He looked at Kotori and the others in shock. In front of Wu Yan, the 3 girls' soul force is being sealed again. Their soul force is slowly fading away, revealing their delicate naked bodies. Looking at the 3 different girls in front of him, Wu Yan's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. The 3 girls didn't seem to be able to react as well. They just stared blankly at each other. The whole scene fell into an eerie silence. As time passed, Kotori was the first to react. She lowered her head, raised her arms, crossed her chest and kicked Wu Yan in the stomach. "Haven't you seen enough?" With a bang, Wu Yan turned into a parabola and smashed into the ground. There's only one sentence left in his mind. "Die without regrets, bird." Chapter 487. In her hazy state, she slowly regained her consciousness. Reason crept into her mind and thoughts came to her heart. Kuang San quietly opened her eyes. Her eyelids trembled for a while before opening. Looking at the strange ceiling, Kuang San's head couldn't turn around. In a daze, her memories began to come back. Kuang San realized that she had been captured. Perhaps this was the so-called tit for tat. After all, she had just captured someone. "Are you awake?" While Kuang San was in a daze, a familiar voice came from her bedside. Kuang San was startled. She calmed down and turned to look at the source of the voice. Naturally, it was Wu Yan who brought her back. At this time, Wu Yan was sitting on Kuang San's bedside with his legs crossed. He was holding an apple in his hand and peeling it with a serious face. The red skin of the apple was pulled into a long strip. Kuang San could see that someone was trying to peel the apple into an endless strip. Kuang San couldn't help but laugh. She looked at the serious face of the man who was brimming with childishness. She couldn't believe that before this man had almost crushed her with his aura because she had kidnapped someone close to him. "How is it? Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere?" Wu Yan didn't turn his head and asked. He focused on the apple in his hand. Just a little bit more and he would be able to peel the entire apple. But this made Kuang San feel dissatisfied. She pouted and said, "It turns out that for a scholar, an apple is more important than someone else. You're so heartless, so heartless." Wu Yan turned his head around. His hand couldn't help but tremble when he turned his head. A long strip of apple skin was neatly sliced open before it fell to the ground with a clatter. Only a tiny bit of skin remained on the apple. Wu Yan's face stiffened. He angrily glared at Kuang San, peeled off the last bit of skin from the apple, and threw it on a plate at the side. How could it be said it was very childish, so much so that the sickly girl couldn't help but laugh. Wu Yan rolled his eyes at Kuang San. He then looked at Kuang San and nodded. "Looks like your wounds have healed. As expected of an elf, your recovery ability is really strong. Era Sherdao, can I take it that you're making fun of me?" Kuang San narrowed her eyes and looked straight at Wu Yan's wine-red pupils. Speaking of recovery ability, Kuang San didn't think that her natural recovery ability could be compared with this guy who couldn't die. She didn't know who else could be compared with Wu Yan in terms of recovery ability. Of course, it wasn't a special ability. Wu Yan smiled embarrassedly, trying to evade the topic. "Since your wounds have healed, what do you plan to do?" Wu Yan's face turned serious as he looked at Kuang San. Although Kuang San had already given up on her obsession, maybe it was just a moment of hesitation. Maybe this time Kuang San will start to be stubborn again. Hearing Wu Yan's words, Kuang San's smile slowly disappeared. She lowered her head and became silent. Wu Yan didn't say anything. He quietly waited for Kuang San's choice. For a moment the entire room fell into silence. After a long time, Wu Yan's heart began to feel a little nervous. Kuang San's voice slowly came from under her bangs. It echoed throughout the room. "If I choose to continue to change the past, what will you do?" Wu Yan stared blankly. His wine-red pupils swept towards Kuang San's face under her bangs. He said loudly, "If you choose to continue to persist in a wrong idea, I will continue to beat you until the day you wake up." After that, the room fell into silence again. Kuang San kept her head down under her long bangs. Her expression couldn't be seen clearly. Wu Yan could only see Kuang San's thin shoulders gently trembling, as if she was struggling with something, until a moment later, a sigh came from under Kuang San's bangs and passed into Wu Yan's ears. Kuang San raised her head with a signature evil smile on her face. With a sweet and tender voice she said to Wu Yan, "Then Sherdao, please advise me in the future." Wu Yan stared blankly for a moment, then he reacted with an ecstatic expression. Looking at Kuang San's evil smile for the first time, Wu Yan felt that her smile was so cute. He couldn't help but laugh out loud. After all, Kuang San was the most troublesome elf to deal with. Now that she finally acknowledged his existence, how could Wu Yan not be happy? One has to say Kurumi's change of heart is a rare occurrence. If Wu Yan and Kurumi's doppelganger didn't reveal their feelings to each other in the zoo, if Wu Yan didn't defeat Kurumi when she was at her craziest, if Wu Yan didn't empathize with her, if he didn't empathize with her, changing her mind would be harder than ascending the heavens. With a series of factors, plus the previous blow, Kuang San finally acknowledged him. From a certain point of view, Wu Yan's previous idea was correct. For Kuang San, Words had completely lost their effect and actions couldn't move her heart. Only pain could make her heart waver a little. At that time the right words would be useful. It can only be said that this was a rather tortuous experience for both Wu Yan and Kuang San. Wu Yan exchanged another pair of sealing bracelets from the system's item list. He handed the red bracelet to Kuang San. Since you know about 10 fragrance and the others, you should know the use of this bracelet, right? Kuang San took the sealing bracelet and stared at it. She seemed to be in a daze. She seemed to be reminiscing about something and she seemed to be in a daze. As long as I wear this sealing bracelet, everything about me will completely change. There will no longer be numbing killing, no longer have the obsession to prove my existence, no longer have the ignorance of abandoning the past, no longer have the confusion of the future path. Thinking of this, Kuang San couldn't help but feel a little tired and uncomfortable, but more than that she felt relieved. At least she no longer had no sense of direction. Finally Kuang San moved and put the red sealing bracelet on her hand. The next moment the sealing bracelet automatically adjusted to a suitable size. The red bracelet matched Kuang San's blood-colored gothic dress very well, as if it was part of Kuang San's spiritual equipment. Following Wu Yan's joyful seal, the bracelet on Kuang San's hand emitted a light. Then, an inexplicable clear stream came out of the bracelet and flowed into Kuang San's body. The clear stream flowed everywhere in Kuang San's body. Wherever it passed, Kuang San's spiritual energy would follow the clear stream and rush towards the next source of spiritual energy. After an unknown amount of time, all of Kuang San's spiritual energy followed the clear stream. After bringing out all the elven energy, the clear stream stopped flowing. Then it drew an arc and surrounded all the elven energy like a cage, imprisoning all the elven energy. Kuang San could feel that after the spiritual energy was imprisoned, the clear stream shook violently and sank into the deepest part of her body with the imprisoned spiritual energy. Then a circle of red lines appeared on Wu Yan's sealing bracelet. At the same time, the gothic dress on Kuang San's body slowly disappeared under Kuang San's astonished expression, revealing her smooth and delicate body. Chapter 488. 2 ponytails of different lengths were released from Kurumi's head at the same time her gothic dress disappeared. Her long black hair flowed down her back like a waterfall, making her look a bit more delicate. Her bangs swept past the corner of her eyes, hiding the golden clock on her left eye. Her remaining wine-red eye involuntarily glanced at her own body. Her eyes were filled with astonishment as if she couldn't adapt to the sudden change in the situation. Not long after, her revealing gothic dress turned into red sparks and disappeared from the room. Kurumi's perfect figure, her white body was revealed to Wu Yan. Wu Yan's mouth slowly widened until it formed an O shape. Wu Yan looked at Kurumi's naked body and her round breasts. When Wu Yan saw the red sparks, he felt his nose itch. He couldn't stay calm anymore. He had just witnessed Kotori and the other elves being stripped of their clothes. How could he have forgotten that the elves' power was sealed, and their spiritual equipment would disappear along with it? On the other side, Kurumi finally reacted to the accident of her body being exposed. The shock on her face turned into evil. She stared at Wu Yan with her wine-red pupils. As if she could see through his thoughts, Kurumi laughed. Shurdao, did you forget or did you do it on purpose? You're the only one who knows. Wu Yan abruptly regained his senses. He looked at Kurumi, who is still grinning at him. She didn't seem to care about her naked body at all. She waved her hands in panic. No, I really forgot. Wu Yan hurriedly explained. His eyes kept glancing at Kurumi, making his explanation unconvincing. I see. Kurumi narrowed her eyes and smiled seductively. She didn't even try to cover her body. Instead, she arched her body and placed her hands on the bed. Actually, I didn't mean to ask Shido to explain. If Shido wants to see, you can do it anytime. If it's Shido. Wu Yan shuddered as he looked at Kurumi. She had a light pink blush on her cheeks. He looked very seductive. Her white and translucent body made him uneasy. He turned his head away with great difficulty. You should find something to wear first. Wu Yan's face was full of reluctance when he said that. 2 streaks of tears flowed down his cheeks, telling others how untrue his words were. Shido is really... Kurumi touched her lips and chuckled. I didn't expect you to have such a cute side. Cute. Wu Yan rolled his eyes. He didn't like how Kurumi used the word cute. He didn't know what to say, so he helplessly said, "Alright, stop teasing me, hurry up and find something to wear." Kurumi looked at Wu Yan, who was sweating profusely. She revealed an evil smile and slowly crawled out of the bed toward Wu Yan. Wu Yan's body stiffened when he saw this scene. Before he could react, Kurumi had already crawled to his side. She stretched out her hands and turned Wu Yan's body to face her. Every corner of Kurumi's body was seen by Wu Yan again. "Shido, didn't you say it? My existence is only for you. Therefore my everything belongs to you, Shido." Kurumi's seductive voice made Wu Yan's heart tremble. Her seductive giggles rang in his ears. This time Wu Yan didn't turn his head. He stared at the pair of plump breasts in front of him. Kurumi's skin was as white as a pearl. Naturally, her pair of big breasts were white and shiny. They kept attacking Wu Yan's nerves. After a while, Wu Yan's eyes were filled with evil fire. Kurumi laughed. Her laughter was very evil and charming. She gently grabbed Wu Yan's hand and straightened her body. Her pair of plump breasts swayed in an arc. "Do you want to touch it?" It was a simple sentence, but it made Wu Yan's heart flutter. The evil fire in his heart rose. A rumbling sound came from his throat. In the silent room, it was unusually loud. Kurumi couldn't help but laugh. Kurumi seemed to have gotten an answer. Without waiting for Wu Yan to reply, she grabbed Wu Yan's hand and pressed it on her plump breasts. In the next moment, a soft feeling filled Wu Yan's palm. Wu Yan was stunned. He looked at his hands that were pressing on Kurumi's plump breasts. Feeling the soft feeling, a weak string in his heart suddenly snapped. "Ah!" His hands that were holding Kurumi's plump breasts tightened. Kurumi's smiling face shook. She let out a seductive moan and her body tensed up. Wu Yan kneaded Kurumi's plump breasts like kneading dough. He fiddled with her plump breasts without any pattern. The smooth and tender feeling was constantly transmitted to Wu Yan's heart. Wu Yan narrowed his eyes in pleasure. Kuang San arched her body, covering her mouth with one hand and supporting herself on the bed with the other hand. Her face blushed adorably. In her wine-red pupils, misty mist began to spread. Extremely enchanting moans escaped from Kuang San's red lips, causing the entire room to be filled with a pink and ambiguous atmosphere. "And Sherdao?" Kurumi panted. Her eyes were blurred as she looked at Wu Yan, who was concentrating on kneading her breasts. Her moans were like extremely high alcohol content. When Wu Yan heard her moans, he began to feel a little drunk. While kneading, the two looked at each other. In their eyes, there was only each other's face. Their expressions gradually became lost. After an unknown amount of time, the two faces began to move closer to each other. When the soft sensation reached their hearts from their lips, they realized what they were doing. By the time they realized what they were doing, their two tongues had already started to entangle with each other in Kurumi's mouth. At the same time, Wu Yan's hands didn't stop at all. He continued to knead with increasing strength. Kurumi's body began to glow red. Her lips were covered by Wu Yan. A muffled moan could be heard from Wu Yan's mouth. This told Wu Yan that his actions were affecting Kurumi. After a long while, the two of them finally let go of each other's lips and looked at each other again. However, the two of them had different expressions. One of them had a satisfied and evil smile on his face, while the other had a blush on her face. Her eyes were blurred and she was panting. Gradually, Wu Yan began to feel unsatisfied. One of his hands that was kneading Kurumi's breasts began to slide down Kurumi's soft body. Kurumi's body violently trembled. As Wu Yan's hand moved down, her heart began to beat faster. Until a moment later, when her lower body was held in his hand, a deadly electric current rushed into her heart. She let out a long sigh. Her moans kept coming out of her mouth. They were getting louder and more urgent. Not long after, Kurumi was moaning in satisfaction. Her chest heaved up and down. Seeing this, Wu Yan's hand stopped moving. His expression changed. He wanted to cry but had no tears. "That's it? What should I do?" Perhaps Kurumi saw Wu Yan's depression. She got up from the bed while gasping for breath. She came to Wu Yan's side and squatted down. Seeing this, Wu Yan was stunned. Could it be? In the next moment, as Kurumi lowered her head, Wu Yan sucked in a breath of cold air and closed his eyes. His face was filled with satisfaction. Chapter 489. A strong sense of excitement rushed into Wu Yan's mind. Wu Yan's face was full of satisfaction. He couldn't help but sigh. His heart was slightly excited. This was the first time someone was willing to do something like this for Wu Yan. In the past, no matter if it was the shy Kaisha-sama, the arrogant railgun, the bold Jusama, or the obedient Ikaros, none of them were willing to do such a thing for Wu Yan. There were countless times when Wu Yan had bad intentions, but he didn't dare to take the risk of being sliced by force. Unexpectedly, Kurumi, who had only known Wu Yan for a few days and met less than 10 times, took the initiative to accept his first time. How could Wu Yan not be excited? It can be seen that Kurumi had never done something like this before. Her movements were very jerky. There were a few times when she almost bit down. Her sharp teeth scraped against his skin. While Wu Yan was enjoying it, he was also scared to the extreme. However, after a few more attempts, Kurumi seems to have grasped a few tricks. She's able to control her strength very well. This allowed Wu Yan to relax and he started enjoying himself. After an unknown amount of time, Wu Yan exhaled. Kurumi also let out a whimper. Then the sound of her throat rolling continuously rang. Hearing this, Wu Yan's evil fire that had just subsided suddenly surged again. He began to pant heavily. His wine-red pupils emitted a wisp of fire. He abruptly stretched out his hands and picked up Kurumi, who was squatting under him. Ignoring her slightly flickering and panicked expression, he pulled her into his arms, hugged her waist and then fiercely pressed her down. After an almost inaudible sound, Kurumi's face paled. She raised her snow-white neck and showed a painful expression. However, in this pain there was also a strong sense of excitement and joy. She was indeed a sickly girl. She found joy in pain. She felt pain and joy at the same time. He was simply born to be a submissive. Although in terms of personality, Kurumi was more like a top, of course, Wu Yan didn't dare to move now. Otherwise, even if Kurumi was happy, he wouldn't be able to get through it. Anyway, he had already settled in. What happened next was just a matter of time. The two hugged each other like this, quietly overlapping each other. After a long time, perhaps the pain had passed. Kurumi raised her head and looked at Wu Yan in a daze. She gasped and said, "Sure, it is really bad. He didn't get my consent. Didn't you say that everything is mine?" Wu Yan smiled slyly, making Kurumi a bit angry. But soon Kurumi smiled and leaned against Wu Yan. She gently hugged Wu Yan. The soft flesh of her chest kept rubbing against Wu Yan. This made Wu Yan's lust rise a lot. She slowly straightened her body. The friction and pain made Kurumi's delicate body tremble. But she still propped herself up and then sat down again. Ugh. Kwang-san gasped for breath. Although her movements weren't big, this was already the maximum that the current Kwang-san could do. Pleasure and pain coexisted, causing her entire body to be powerless. However, she still unwaveringly persisted in her actions. Gradually, Kurumi seemed to have found the feeling. The pain gradually disappeared, leaving only the purest pleasure. Kurumi's originally pale face began to redden. Her undulating speed also increased. Her pair of large breasts swayed up and down with her movements, making Wu Yan feel a bit dizzy. Wu Yan naturally didn't stay idle. His two large hands reached towards Kurumi's chest and began to knead the most magical part of her body. This made Kurumi feel even more excited. She let out a sound that made people's blood boil. As time passed, Kurumi began to lose herself. She fell into an inexplicable pleasure. She couldn't distinguish the scene in front of her. There was only one thought left in her mind, and that was to move. The pink halo on her body became darker and darker. Gradually it turned red. At this moment, Kurumi seemed to be covered in a layer of red gauze. It added a bit of ambiguous atmosphere, making Wu Yan almost suffocate. Wave after wave of pleasure assaulted Kurong-san's nerves. She felt like she was flying into the clouds. The pleasure was surging like a tsunami, making Kurong-san moan tirelessly. She repeated the same movements. At a certain point, Kurumi let out a loud gasp. After another wave of pleasure, she finally reached the peak. She weakly laid on Wu Yan's body. Her face was bright red. Her mouth kept letting out soft moans. Her lips trembled as if she was kissing Wu Yan's chest. Her chest was violently moving up and down. "Is it comfortable?" After tidying up Kurumi's messy hair and kissing her cheek, Wu Yan smiled and said. His tone was very annoying. After all, he didn't move at all from the beginning. He let Kurumi do whatever she wanted. Her strength was almost exhausted. Kurumi opened her mouth as if she wanted to say something. However, when she opened her mouth, all that came out was gasping. She couldn't make any other sound. Seeing this, Wu Yan smiled again. He stood up and hugged Kurumi with both hands. Her whole body was on top of him. Such a violent movement made Kurumi moan. Maintaining this position, Wu Yan moved his body and quickly pounded Kurumi in his arms. Kurumi raised her head as if she was struck by lightning. She kept moaning and sweating. The pleasure stimulated Kurumi's mind. Her moans changed until they were nothing more than moans. Kurumi's mind is in a blur. She subconsciously wrapped her arms around Wu Yan's neck. She closed her eyes. She put all her work into her throat. Not long after, Kurumi reached the peak again. Her long sigh spread to every corner of the room. The 10-second-long moan made Kurumi use the last of her strength. She was like a pile of mud lying on top of Wu Yan. She only had the strength to open her mouth and moan. However, someone obviously didn't want to let Kurumi go. Ever since he came to this world of dating, Wu Yan hasn't enjoyed this kind of treatment except for the occasional flirting with coterie and that time in the hot spring. Wu Yan has no less than 10 wives, but this time, not even one came with him. At home, coterie can't do it openly because Shiori is there. In addition, coterie's sister mode hasn't appeared for a long time. Wu Yan didn't dare to go to coterie. As for Toka, she looks like she's easy to push down. However, looking at her innocent and romantic look, Wu Yan didn't have the guts to do it. As for Yoshino, forget it, she's cute but pushing her would be a lot of pressure. Thus, Wu Yan can only look on helplessly as the cute girls jumped up and down in front of him. None of them managed to get a bite. How could Wu Yan, who used to play papapak games with his wives every day, endure this? If this goes on, he'll get sick. Now that Kurumi delivered herself to his door, he'll feel sorry for the heavens if he doesn't do it. His eyes burning with lust, Wu Yan pushed Kurumi down on the bed and turned her body to lie in front of him. Wu Yan got on top of Kurumi's back and started to move impatiently. Not long after, Kwang San's moans once again resounded through the entire room. Chapter 490. In the sky above Heavenly Palace City, inside Fraxinus. In a ward specially used for the sick and injured to rest, a series of continuous panting sounds rang out. There were no pedestrians outside the door. Even if there were pedestrians, unless they completely pressed their ears to the door, they would not be able to hear anything. People could not help but sigh at the soundproofing effect of the ward. Of course, if someone were to discover the secret inside the room, they'd definitely curse out loud. After all, if you ask who's inside the room, the first thing that comes to mind is the injured and the injured. Isn't he afraid of being despised for having sex with the injured or the injured in the room? It's really unbelievable. An hour ago, Kurumi was the owner of this room and she was still in a coma. But now she's doing something that's both physically and mentally draining. It's really hard to say what's good for her. You have to sigh at the conscience of a certain wolf. He actually pushed an injured person. However, Kurumi's injuries have mostly healed while she was in a coma. Although she's still lacking in physical strength, she's fine in other areas. You can see that from how she's still touching Wu Yan. Kurumi didn't actually want to have sex with Wu Yan, but because of the disappearance of the spiritual equipment and Wu Yan's performance, Kurumi couldn't help but want to have sex with him. As for the consequences of doing that, Kurumi thought she'd just let him have sex with her and she'd help him deal with it afterward. Who knew that she'd be the one to pay the price? Even if Kurumi didn't dislike the result, she'd still be angry. Of course, it's too late to talk about this now. After an unknown amount of time had passed, a long moaning sound once again sounded. The intermittent moaning gradually weakened. Other than some faintly discernible panting sounds, there was no other sound in the room. Wu Yan was lying there with a refreshed expression on his face. His wine-red eyes were slightly narrowed. Kurumi was lying on top of him. Her face was red, her breasts were violently moving up and down. Her breasts were constantly rubbing against Wu Yan's chest, almost making Wu Yan burn again. After panting for a while, Kurumi finally couldn't bear the burden and slowly closed her eyes. Her breathing also became regular, telling Wu Yan that she was tired. "You've worked hard." Stroking Kurumi's long black hair, Wu Yan said with a guilty tone. Originally, with Kurumi's elf body, even if the two had sex for a long time, she wouldn't be so tired that she'd fall asleep. Unfortunately, Kurumi's injuries had just healed and her strength was sealed, so her recovery was greatly reduced. Wu Yan, on the other hand, had been holding back for a long time, so he wanted to have a good time. Naturally, the weaker one would be lying on the ground. Moreover, even if she didn't get stronger, Kurumi still wouldn't be Wu Yan's opponent, let alone now. But it must be said that even if it was the first time, Kurumi still showed amazing talent. Her injuries had just healed, but she was still able to accompany Wu Yan to this point. She was indeed the most unrestrained elf among all the elves. Hugging the sleeping Kurumi, Wu Yan caressed her soft and smooth back. Inadvertently, he touched the sealing bracelet on Kurumi's wrist. Suddenly, he remembered that Kurumi seemed to be the last target of his second dungeon mission. The 4 elves required for the second dungeon mission had already put on the sealing bracelet. Then the second dungeon mission should be completed already, right? Since the second dungeon mission was completed, the third dungeon mission should also be activated, right? Reaching out his hand, he opened the system projection and pulled up the mission column. Sure enough, the second dungeon mission had already been completed. The third dungeon mission had also been activated. Dungeon World. Date Battle. Dungeon Mission. Collect. Mission 1. Materialize the spatial earthquake phenomenon that occurred all over the world and collect it. Current progress. October 10th, completed. Quest reward. 50,000 equipment points, item points, ability points, summoning points. Mission 2. Use the Ring of Sealing to seal the elven powers of storyline characters Yuso Toho Yoshino, Tokisaki Kurumi and Itsuka Kotori. Completed. Quest reward. Any 2 pieces of equipment below level B will be upgraded by 1 level, excluding level B in Gate of Babylon. Mission 3. Use the ability of The Night Never Dies by bare hands to turn Latatosker's airship, Fraxinus, into a relic and store it in the Gate of Babylon. Quest reward. Level up by 1. When the content of the third mission appeared in front of Wu Yan's eyes, Wu Yan's finger, which was pointing at the system's projection, trembled and almost poked into Kurisu's mouth. His wine-red pupils widened as he repeatedly cursed in his heart. Using the ability of Knights Never Die by bare hands to turn Latatosker's airship Fraxinus into a relic? You want to keep it in the Gate of Babylon? Kotori will chop me into pieces. Wu Yan's lips trembled in anger as he looked at the third mission again. After making sure he wasn't mistaken, Wu Yan couldn't bear to look at it anymore. Fraxinus was the base of Latatosker. Not only did it possess the most advanced technology in Latatosker, it also had a specialized elven analysis system. If Fraxinus disappeared one day, Latatosker would basically be disbanded. Yet, under such circumstances, she still wanted him to turn Fraxinus into a relic? Wasn't that the same as making an enemy out of Latatosker? Even if Kotori agreed to it, the other members of Latatosker would never agree to it, let alone Kotori. Although as the commander of Ratatosker, Kotori's orders were absolute. When the time came, where would the members of Ratatosker go? If he were to turn Fraxinus into a noble phantasm, then Fraxinus would become his exclusive item. Even if he allowed others to use it, they would have to approve of it in their hearts. This mission is both simple and difficult. The simple part is that he only needs to get Kotori's approval. The difficult part is that the other members of Latatosker don't know how to deal with it. Should he rob it? If he did that, even Kotori wouldn't forgive him, let alone the others. After staring at the third mission for a long time, Wu Yan sighed. He couldn't figure out what the other members of Latatosker would think about it. Wu Yan could only put it aside for now. Since he wasn't in a hurry to leave this world, he'll put the third mission aside for now. He'll deal with it when Kotori has a showdown with her. The reward of this quest, on the other hand, made his heart skip a beat. Leveling up by 1 seems like a small amount, but if he could level up by 1 level, he would be able to reach level 70 and become a tier 8 powerhouse. That would save him a lot of leveling time. Due to the difficulty of the mission, Wu Yan could only give it up for now. Beep. The second mission has been completed. Reward. Any 2 pieces of equipment below level 8 will be upgraded by 1 level. Please make your choice. Warning. This does not include the upgrade of the equipment, excluding the Gate of Babylon as well. The system notification rang in Wu Yan's ears. Wu Yan was stunned for a moment, but when he came back to his senses, his face lit up with excitement. Wu Yan has been eyeing the reward of the second dungeon for a very long time. Chapter 491. Wu Yan already had a plan for the second dungeon mission reward, which was to upgrade any 2 pieces of equipment below B grade by 1 level. If he succeeded, not only would he receive rewards, but he would also be able to upgrade his abilities. To be precise, he would be able to upgrade the power of the Gate of Babylon. Ever since he obtained the Gate of Babylon, Wu Yan would convert some iron sand into a noble phantasm and put it into the Gate of Babylon every day, trying to upgrade the Gate of Babylon. As for the result, he could tell by looking at his character status that his Gate of Babylon was still at level C. This also showed how difficult it was to upgrade the Gate of Babylon. If he were to use equipment to upgrade the Gate of Babylon, it would take a long time. When the reward of Quest 2 appeared, an idea popped up in his mind. What if he used the reward of Quest 2 to upgrade the Iron Sands level? Would that work? The level of the Gate of Babylon was supported by the iron sand that was converted into a grade D equipment. If the Gate of Babylon were to lose the iron sand that was piled up like a mountain, the Gate of Babylon would revert back to its original form, a grade D equipment. Perhaps because of this, even though Wu Yan kept adding iron sand into the Gate of Babylon, he could not upgrade the Gate of Babylon to B grade. If he were to use other equipment to upgrade the Gate of Babylon, Wu Yan would definitely go bankrupt and it would only be a matter of time. Wu Yan had spent a lot of effort to upgrade the Gate of Babylon. After all, it was such a special equipment, it would be a waste to let it grow on its own. However, it was extremely difficult to upgrade it with other equipment. When the reward for the second dungeon mission appeared, Wu Yan saw a possibility. Upgrade the iron sand in the Gate of Babylon, and upgrade the Gate of Babylon again. This was not impossible. Although the amount of iron sand was boundless at the end of the day, it could only be considered a piece of equipment. The system could not possibly change a grain of iron sand from D grade to C grade, right? If he could upgrade the iron sand from a D grade common armament to a C grade rare armament, Wu Yan did not believe that he could not upgrade the Gate of Babylon. If this method worked, not only would the Gate of Babylon be upgraded, but the iron sand would also become a C grade rare armament. Wu Yan would have a terrifying amount of rare armaments. By then, the C-grade Iron Sand Sword and the B-grade Gate of Babylon would be so powerful that if Wu Yan were to fight Jafar again, he would be able to kill him with the Gate of Babylon. Even if he were to fight Kurumi again, Wu Yan was confident that he would be able to gain the upper hand without resorting to any tricks. Wu Yan wanted to laugh out loud at the thought of having a gold armament treasure of Babylon with a pile of rare armaments. Scarlet Shokuhu Misaki Kinuhata Sayai Frenda, Takitsubu Riku Misaka Sisters, 20,000, Equipment Points, 170000 Item Points, 50,000 Ability Points, 170000 Summoning Points, 230000 Level, 69. Finally, it's Level B, Gate of Babylon. Wu Yan let out a sigh of relief when he heard the system beep. The nervousness in his heart dissipated, and a hint of joy appeared on his face. He was worried that his trick wouldn't work and the Iron Sands level wouldn't be upgraded. Fortunately, the final result was undoubtedly gratifying. Not only did he obtain a pile of rare armaments, but his Gate of Babylon had also become a gold armament. With a gold armament level Gate of Babylon and the piles of rare armaments inside, Wu Yan believes that the Gate of Babylon will become a killing machine in the future. His strength has increased by a lot. Of course, that's not the only thing that got upgraded. System, upgrade Nippon no Shana's level. Muttering in his heart, this time he's not going to be nervous. And I know Shana's level hasn't reached B yet, and unlike Tetsu, it's not a cheap trick to raise its level, it's a piece of cake. Ding. Nippon no Shana's level has been upgraded. Current level is B grade. The same thing that happened to the iron sand happened to Nippon no Shana again. However, due to the large amount of iron sand, the phenomenon caused by Nippon no Shana's level was smaller. After a while, Nippon no Shana's level was upgraded to B grade, a gold armament. With B grade Nippon no Shana, Wu Yan's strength increased again. Chapter 492. The upgrade of Gate of Babylon and Shauna made Wu Yan, who was in a good mood after having a good time with Kurumi, even better. Even though his level and abilities didn't increase, the upgrade of his equipment was directly related to his strength. Forget about Gate of Babylon, even Niandan no Shauna was a sharp blade in his hands before it was upgraded. After all, the equipment itself has the ability to control flames. Niandan no Shauna is a rare armament, but it's already a gold armament. In addition to the meteor shower, Wu Yan alone has 3 gold armaments. If the powerhouses of the Spalier world knew about this, they would be so jealous that they would jump off a building. Gold armaments are equipment that only Tier 9 powerhouses can equip. Even in the Spalier World Academy, only Princess Sylph was able to get her hands on a gold armament when she was only Tier 8. Now a guy who hasn't even reached Tier 8 has 3, and each of them are at the pinnacle of gold armaments. The group of people who would be affected by this fact would most likely be the 9th level old monsters. After all, no one had ever heard of a 9th level ranker who possessed 2 or more gold armaments at the same time. With 3 gold armaments, Wu Yan is already strong enough to challenge those of a higher tier. If he goes up against Jaffer now, Jaffer won't even have the chance to enter Berserk state. This is also why rare armaments are common in the Spalier World Academy while gold armaments are only owned by one person. Even though there's only a difference of 1 level, the former is suitable for Tier 7 and 8 while the latter is suitable for Tier 9. They can't be compared at all. That's why Wu Yan couldn't help but be in a bad mood when he thought about the fact that he has 3 gold armaments. Of course, this good mood disappeared when he saw the various points on his character panel, especially the 50,000 item points. After exchanging for 4 pairs of sealing bracelets, Wu Yan's item points are nearing the bottom again. Wu Yan sighed and comforted himself. It's fine. 800,000 item points for 4 cute girls. It's worth it no matter how you look at it, right? That's true. At the mention of sealing bracelets, Wu Yan couldn't help but look at his hands. Currently he has 3 sealing bracelets on one hand and 2 sealing bracelets on the other. The 5 sealing bracelets occupied his hands and they almost covered his entire wrist. It's a very odd sight. Wu Yan couldn't help but frown. System, is there a way to reduce the number of sealing bracelets without weakening their effects? Wu Yan asked the system in his mind. User, because the items are of the same quality, you can choose to combine all the sealing rings so that you can control the paired sealing rings. You want to merge all the sealing rings together? Wu Yan's eyes lit up. How do I do that? User, you don't need to do anything. You only need to apply to the system. Oh. Then system apply to combine the sealing bracelets. Beep. User has applied to combine the sealing bracelets. 50,000 item points will be required. Do you wish to pay? The system's cold voice caused his smile to freeze. Within 1,000th of a second he cursed the system 1,000 times and then OXX 1,000 times. You only need to apply to the system? I should have known that the system is a scammer since ancient times. The saddest thing is this isn't the first time I've been scammed. Glancing at his character status he saw the item points at 50,000. Wu Yan wanted to know why combining the sealing aura would give him exactly 50,000 points, no more no less. Is this the system's aim? Wu Yan, who had just finished a round of lovemaking and was in high spirits, suddenly felt a pain in his lower body. It was called a faint sadness. Rubbing his forehead, Wu Yan muttered weakly, yes, ding. The sealing bracelets have begun to combine. The combining function has been activated. The next time you combine the sealing bracelets, user will no longer need to pay item points. Hearing the system's voice, Wu Yan's gloomy mood improved a little. At the same time, the 5 white sealing bracelets on his hands began to change. Between the 5 sealing bracelets, a thread with flowing light suddenly grew out and connected to the closest sealing bracelet. As the 5 sealing bracelets connected, the 5 sealing bracelets began to vibrate. Then, under Wu Yan's astonishment, the 5 identical sealing bracelets, except for the first one on his right hand, all shattered into pieces after a crisp sound. Before Wu Yan could react, the 4 shattered sealing bracelets paused in midair and shot towards the last remaining sealing bracelet. After hovering around it for a while, they merged into it. Under Wu Yan's gaze, the remaining sealing bracelet, which originally only had 1 red pattern on its surface, suddenly had 4 identical red patterns. The 5 red patterns were close to each other with a negligible distance between them. They complemented each other perfectly as if they were made by heaven. These 5 red patterns each represented a seal. When the red patterns disappeared, the seal would be released. Of course, this was only possible with Wu Yan's approval. Now that there was only one sealing bracelet left, it didn't look as out of place as before. This made Wu Yan's expression much better. Holding the sealing bracelet in his hand, Wu Yan pursed his lips and sighed. Looks like when I get back to the Spalier world I'll have to think of a way to get some points to use. The items in the system can be said to have endless uses. There's only things you can't think of, there's nothing you can't find. Without points you can only stare at the items in the system. That's not a good feeling. Moreover, the most fundamental purpose of coming to this world, which was to obtain the special item to unlock the mysterious crystal, has been achieved. Next, it's time to properly raise my level. When I get back to the Spalier world, I'll choose a suitable dungeon for leveling. The time ratio between the Spalier world and the dungeon is 100. If I don't die in such a good dungeon, I'll be struck to death by lightning. After making up his mind, Wu Yan glanced at the last quest in this world. He sighed and smiled bitterly. I wonder if Coterie and the others will agree to let me take Fraxinus away. It shouldn't be a big problem. Wu Yan muttered uncertainly. He couldn't make up his mind. This is a big problem. Logically speaking, if he tells Coterie about his background, it shouldn't be a big problem. After all, the main purpose of Fraxinus was to help Ratatoskr with their strategy against the elves. If Kirin completed the last dungeon quest, even if he took Fraxinus with him, the world would still be frozen in time. If time is frozen, Fraxinus' role will be negligible. As long as he doesn't return to this world, the elves won't appear and everyone will be frozen in time. What's there to worry about? That's why this problem is both simple and difficult. After pondering for a while, Wu Yan sighed. Let's put it aside for now. Chapter 493. Inside the room, Wu Yan is dressed in black. He turned around and gently moved Kurumi to the center of the bed. He covered her with a blanket and hid her seductive body under it. Wu Yan clapped his hands and nodded in satisfaction. Stroking Kurumi's long bangs, he kissed her smooth forehead. Kurumi seemed to have sensed something as she wrinkled her cute little nose. She tilted her head slightly before revealing a serene expression which amused Wu Yan. Who would have thought that the usually arrogant Tokisaki Kurumi would have such a cute side to her when she's asleep? Wu Yan shook his head and looked at Kurumi. He turned around and walked out the door. Fraxinus, command room. The members of Ratatoskr were analyzing the battle that took place in the open space of the zoo. For an organization that specializes in elves, every piece of information about elves is invaluable. For example, in the previous battle, a total of 4 elves appeared and fought each other. This is something that has never happened in the past. Therefore, this battle has become a good topic for research. Everyone only hoped that from this battle, they would be able to analyze a little bit of information that would be useful when facing the elves in the future. If that was the case, everyone's hard work would not have been in vain. Naturally, as Ratatoskr's commander, Coterie is also present. She almost lost control of her power after it was unsealed. It's best for her to rest now that she's sealed again. But for Coterie, it's better for her to check on the progress of her work rather than lying on the bed. Since there aren't any elves around, there's nothing important for her to do. Coterie only needs to sit on the command desk and watch her subordinates work. Not only will she not be bored, she'll also encourage them to be active. For example, "Oh, the commander is watching over there. Kanazuki Kyuhei. I feel like I'm full of power." Kanazuki Kyuhei, who used to be one of the most handsome men in the world, had flames burning in his eyes. He opened his mouth wider than a hippopotamus and jumped up and down in the command room. His image as a handsome man was completely destroyed. He's shouting about how he's full of power, but Kanazuki Kyuhei is just like Coterie. As a vice commander, he's more relaxed when there aren't any elves around. That's why he's jumping up and down with nothing to do. Coterie's pretty face started to get impatient as she listened to Kanazuki Kyuhei's brainless shouting. Kanazuki Kyuhei kept moving around in her sight and it's getting annoying. After a while, Coterie's head was filled with Coterie's words. At some point, Coterie couldn't hold it in any longer. She snapped her fingers and the sound echoed clearly in the command room. Almost at the same time, the automatic door of the command room was opened. Two muscular brothers ran in and propped Kanazuki Kuhei up from the floor. Kanazuki Kuhei's expression froze. When he came back to his senses, he started crying. "Commander! Please spare my life. Please, for the sake of my dedication in the past, please spare me this once." Kotori didn't even turn her head as she said expressionlessly, "Since you're so energetic, I'll find something for you to do. Next, you'll have to spend a day digging holes in the place you're going to. After you've dug all the empty spaces, you'll have to fill up all the holes." Kanazuki Kuhei's crying face disappeared. Instead, he started shouting excitedly. He was led away by his brothers as he cheered and left the command room. Wu Yan saw his two brothers coming out of the command room. He shuddered and dodged to the side. It was then that Wu Yan saw Kanazuki Kuhei being propped up by his brothers. Wu Yan's lips twitched as he watched Kanazuki and Kuhei disappear into the distance. Wu Yan's eyebrows kept twitching. After a while, he calmed down and returned to his usual self. He headed back to the command room. His instincts are telling him that it's best if he doesn't get involved in this matter. Kotori glanced at the door. She raised an eyebrow when she saw Wu Yan coming in. She clicked her tongue and turned her head away. "What's wrong? Don't you need to watch over Tokisaki Kurumi?" Kotori's tone sounded disdainful, but Wu Yan could hear a hint of annoyance in her voice. He didn't know if it's towards Kurumi, Wu Yan, or both. Wu Yan cursed in his mind and shrugged. "Kurumi has already woken up. It seems that she's fine, so I came over." "She woke up?" Kotori frowned. "She didn't cause any trouble, did she? Based on Kurumi's past behavior, if she causes a ruckus in Fraxinus, the airship will be in big trouble." Kotori couldn't help but ask. If Wu Yan didn't object to her placing surveillance around Kurumi, Kurumi's ward would have been filled with surveillance cameras by now. Wu Yan obviously thought of this as well. His expression became a bit unnatural. He's glad that he didn't agree to Kotori's suggestion because he was concerned about Kurumi's feelings. Otherwise, their lovemaking in the room would have been broadcasted live on the screen in the command room. Wu Yan laughed dryly. "Kotori, you don't have to worry about Kurumi anymore. She's wearing the sealing bracelet now. Even if she wants to cause trouble, she won't be able to." As soon as he finished speaking, the entire command room suddenly became incomparably silent. "Kurumi is wearing the sealing bracelet?" Kotori looked at Wu Yan with a pleasantly surprised expression. The other members of Ratatoskr were also looking at him. Under everyone's watchful eyes, Wu Yan nodded with much difficulty. He felt very uncomfortable. "Why are you all looking at me like that? Is there something wrong?" "How did you do it?" Kotori asked the question that was on everyone's mind. Kurumi's strength was obvious to all. She was supposed to be the most difficult elf to capture, but now she was taken down by the person in front of them without them noticing. How could they not be curious? "How did I do it?" Wu Yan smiled embarrassedly. "That's a good question. How do you want me to answer you?" Kotori stared at Wu Yan for a moment before turning around. She asked Rain Murasame. "How's the analysis of the elven AI?" Murasame Rain sat on a facility on the side and pressed a few buttons on it. "Indeed, Tokisaki Kurumi's psychic waves can't be detected. There's a 90% chance that the elf's power is sealed. You should be correct." "That's great." In the command room, all the members of Ratatoskr cheered happily. Kotori also let out a sigh of relief and smiled. One must know that ever since Kurumi appeared, she had caused a lot of headaches. Apart from her terrifying personality, her mental state was more or less unstable. In addition, she was an evil elf who had personally slain more than 10,000 people. For Ratatoskr, who advocated for the salvation of the elves, this was an unprecedented problem. But now, this huge problem had been solved without anyone noticing. How could this not make everyone feel pleasantly surprised? Everyone looked at Wu Yan with eyes full of admiration and admiration. Chapter 494. It's really a miracle. Rain Murasame, who usually doesn't care about anything, was now full of emotion. She shared her analysis of Kurumi on the big screen in the command room and said, "Tokisaki Kurumi's favorability bar was only half full before, but now it's full. How did he do it?" Rain Murasame's last sentence was naturally directed at Wu Yan. Everyone on the scene saw Kurumi's max favorability on the big screen. Immediately, one by one, they used their worship skill on Wu Yan. Not only did he raise the favorability of such a difficult elf to max out, but he also completed the most important task of sealing her. This is a real god. Of course, in this worship there's also a lot of doubt. In addition, they were curious. They were curious about how Wu Yan got Kurumi. Chuckling dryly, he felt everyone's gaze on him. He felt his scalp tingling. At this moment, even if these people's gazes were filled with worship, it still made him feel like they're piercing his eyes. To be honest, Wu Yan was also surprised that Kurumi's favorability towards him was maxed out. He didn't know when Kurumi had such a deep impression of him. Kurumi's temperament is really hard to fathom. Wu Yan truly experienced the feeling of a woman's heart from Kurumi. If he didn't have the advantage and know the characters well, he's afraid that Kurumi wouldn't be able to wear the sealing bracelet. However, Wu Yan didn't know why Kurumi's favorability towards him was maxed out. Could it be that Kurumi has a setting where she'll be loyal to someone after being Papa? Rubbing his head in distress, Wu Yan sighed and said helplessly, "Don't ask me how I did it, I'm also confused." Confused? How can you capture a girl when you're confused? At the same time, everyone flipped the tea table in their hearts. The worship and doubt in their eyes turned into speechlessness and disdain. Perhaps in their hearts they thought that Wu Yan was faking it, a winner in life showing off in a roundabout way. If Wu Yan knew what they were thinking, he'd definitely go berserk. Is this showing off? Then what I did in the Tokawadai dormitory with Sis Canon and Queen Sama, isn't that a glory? Kotori blinked. Based on her understanding of Wu Yan, if Wu Yan really wanted to show off, she would be able to tell. When she saw Wu Yan's helpless expression, Kotori knew that Wu Yan was confused himself. Putting a pearl in her mouth, she waved her hand. Well, forget it, Tokasaki Kurumi is sealed anyway. She's no longer a threat and we've achieved our goal. The process doesn't matter. Hearing Kotori's words, everyone suppressed their curiosity and turned around to continue their work. Wu Yan couldn't help but feel relieved. If they continued to force him, even Wu Yan himself might not be able to keep it a secret. Rolling in the sheets with Kurumi in the ward, looking around the command room, Wu Yan turned around and asked, "By the way, Kotori, where's you?" "He hasn't recovered yet, he's still recuperating." Kotori glanced at Wu Yan and said in annoyance, "You's just a normal person, he's not you nor an elf. He took a bullet in the back, how can he recover so quickly?" "That's true." Wu Yan answered casually. He hesitated and asked, "Then Kotori, what do you plan to do with Kurumi?" Kotori stopped licking her pearl for a moment before she calmed down and said casually, "Originally, everyone wanted to treat Tokasaki Kurumi as a criminal." Criminal? Wu Yan turned around and looked at Kotori. "Ah." Kotori narrowed her eyes and continued, "No matter what, he's someone who killed more than 10,000 people. Even if Ratatosker wants to save the elves, a crime is a crime. Just like how humans are imprisoned for murder from a normal person's point of view, Tokasaki Kurumi has to pay the price for his past actions." Wu Yan fell silent, he was struggling in his heart. Indeed, from an ordinary person's point of view, Kurumi had killed more than 10,000 people with her own hands. She was a heinous existence. If Kurumi was an ordinary person, she would have been executed 1,000 times. That would have been more than enough. If it was in the past, Wu Yan would have thought the same. But now, the value of human life isn't as important as before in Wu Yan's eyes. Although he doesn't view human life as an ant, the dead are already dead. He can't bring them with him when he's alive, and he can't bring them with him when he's dead. Wu Yan's hands are stained with the blood of countless people. During the treasure hunt in the supply town, Wu Yan killed as many people as Kurumi. If possible, Wu Yan doesn't want Kurumi to bear the consequences. Not only did he not do it in the past, but now Kurumi is even more so for his woman. Thus Wu Yan couldn't help but ask, "Is there no way to salvage the situation?" Kotori turned around, her red eyes stared at Wu Yan. She said with a bit of displeasure, "You seem to care a lot." "How can I not care?" Wu Yan bitterly smiled. "I believe elves are kind beings. Kurumi's hands are stained with blood, but she was forced to do so. If she wasn't hunted by humans, she wouldn't have ended up like this." "Kotori, I don't believe you can't tell if Kurumi's heart is kind or not." Kotori snorted and turned her head away. "If I didn't, she would have been in the shelter already." Wu Yan wasn't surprised, he was happy instead. "So, there's still room for negotiation in dealing with Kwang-san?" Kotori pursed her lips, she sighed and said in a bad mood. Since Tokisaki Kurumi is an elf and her situation is special, she will be exiled to be monitored. If she commits any more crimes she will be imprisoned. Exiled to be monitored. Wu Yan tilted his head in confusion. What does that mean? That means, Kotori bit her lips, she said with a bit of reluctance. Kurumi will be taken in and she might even belong to our family. Really? Wu Yan's face lit up with joy, he said with a smile. Kotori was annoyed. Don't be happy too early. That's just a preliminary decision. I haven't approved it yet. Don't forget we don't have any extra space in our house to take in anyone. Even see when Nai sleeps with Zhou Xian. That's true. Wu Yan was a bit troubled. At this moment, a delicate voice rang in everyone's ears at the same time as the automatic door opened. This caused the entire command room to fall silent. Era, you don't have to worry about that. Everyone stopped what they were doing. They looked up and saw Kurumi in her hospital gown walking in with a graceful smile on her face. She started walking towards Wu Yan. Wu Yan was confused. Kurumi hugged Wu Yan's arm and intimately leaned on him. I can share a room with Shido. What? Everyone exclaimed in shock, including Kotori. She stood up from her seat with a whoosh. Kurumi maintained her elegant smile. She looked at Kotori with fire in her eyes. Is there a problem? Chapter 495. Heavenly Palace City, Itsuka House. That's it, I'll be looking forward to your guidance in the coming days. In the hall, Shirori, Toka, Yoshino and Kotori were standing together. They looked at Kurumi who was standing in front of them with an elegant smile and bowed. They looked at each other in dismay. Tokazuhin. Shirori smiled a little bitterly and then carefully asked, maybe I heard wrong. Can you please repeat what you said just now? The smile on Kurumi's face didn't change after hearing Shiori's words. She overlapped her hands and placed them in front of her. She smiled and said, yes, Shiori. Because something happened in my family, I will have to disturb you for a while. So please take care of me. Shiori blinked, looked at Toka and then looked at Kurumi. So, Tokusayan, you'll be living in our house? Yes. Sorry for the trouble. Kurumi said with a smile. Shiori didn't know what to do. Of course, Shiori's impression of Kurumi is that she's just a classmate. She didn't want Shiori to be involved in the elf incident, so Wu Yan and the others didn't tell her that Kurumi knocked her out and kidnapped her. They only told Shiori that she fainted due to anemia, so Shiori isn't familiar with Kurumi. Fortunately, when Kurumi kidnapped Shiori, she chose to knock her out instead of keeping her awake like Kotori and the others. Otherwise, they wouldn't know how to make up for it. Now, a classmate who had just transferred over and whom she had only known for a few days was going to live in her house. Shiori subconsciously felt a burst of discomfort, but it was understandable. Shirji hesitated for a moment and said in distress, but we don't have any spare space in our house for people to live in. You don't have to worry about that, Shiori-san. Kurumi tilted her head and smiled, but there's something interesting in her smile. Shirori, Yoshino and Toka were stunned while Kotori clenched her teeth in anger. Kurumi reached out her hand and pulled a certain someone who has been acting like a bystander since the beginning. She hugged his arm tightly and put her head on his shoulder. Then she said the words that almost caused a commotion in the command room of Fraxinus. I'll live in the same room as Shido. Wu Yan covered his face with his hand. He couldn't bear to look at the other girls. It's not just because he doesn't want to accept reality, it's also because he knows the girls very well. Even if he used his knee to think, he could already guess what would happen next. What? Shiori and Toka shrieked. They looked at Kurumi who looked like she was asking what to eat today and Wu Yan who was covering his face with his hands. They couldn't believe what they saw. Live in the same room as Shido Gij. Yoshino covered her mouth with her small hand. She looked at Wu Yan and Kurumi with her big blue eyes, her face turned red. How bold. As for Kotori, she already turned her head away from the crowd. No one can see her expression, but from the way she clenched her fists, it's clear that she's not calm at all. Absolutely not, 10 Incense shouted furiously. His voice was like a thunderclap. It went straight up with the purpose of overturning the roof of Wu He's house. His voice reverberated in everyone's ears. Everyone's ears were ringing from the roar. Toka glared at Kurumi and pointed at her. Why do you have to live in the same room as Shido? It can't be helped. Kurumi's smile didn't diminish. She acted like she didn't see Toka's expression. After all, there's no room left. But you don't have to live with Shido. Toka bit her lips. You can live with me too. Era Toka classmate, what are you talking about? Kurumi covered her mouth and smiled. If I live in your room, what will happen to Yoshino? Toka choked and shouted. But you can't live with Shido. Absolutely not. Then what should I do? Kurumi pointed at her temple and said sadly. Does Toka classmate want to kick me out? It's not like that. Seeing Kurumi's sad expression, 10 Fragrance's voice gradually weakened. 10 Fragrance understood Kurumi's situation. Someone as pure and kind as her wouldn't kick Kurumi out. Toka classmate, it's a bit inappropriate for you to live in the same room as Shido. Shiori spoke up. She mumbled to Kurumi before turning around to look at Wu Yan. She had a strange look in her eyes. It was as if she was looking at a cheater who abandoned her. Wu Yan's lips twitched. When Toka lived in Wu Yan's house, she said she's his girlfriend. But now there's a girl who wants to live in the same room as her boyfriend in front of Toka. Shiori looked at Wu Yan like he's an unfaithful man. It's good that she didn't look at him like he's a scumbag. Era Shiori classmate, you don't have to worry about that. Kurumi hugged Wu Yan's arm tightly and said something that even Wu Yan couldn't keep calm. I'm Shido's fiancé, it's only a matter of time before we live in the same room. Fiancé? Not only Shiori, even Yono was stunned by Kurumi's speech. Kotori, who was standing behind everyone, was trembling slightly. Toka was the only one who was confused. What's a fiancé? The air froze for 2 seconds. Kurumi's smile froze for a second, but it quickly returned to normal. Shiori laughed dryly and said to Toka. Toka, a fiancé means you and your other half will eat together, sleep together, and be together forever. Together forever. Toka's amethyst-like eyes lit up, her face blushed. She looked at Kurumi and shouted. Then I want to be Shido's fiancé. As soon as he said that, the entire living room was filled with the sound of people falling to the ground. 10 Incense was stunned as she watched everyone fall to the ground. She was a little confused. Why are you sleeping on the ground? Do fiancés have to sleep on the ground? Toka. Shirji helplessly looked at the naive Toka. She was both angry and amused. Perhaps it was because Toka was so naive that she had a so-called fiancé, Shirji thought maliciously. Kurumi covered her face with her hand. Anyways, Toka classmate is Shido's fiancé, I'm allowed to sleep in the same room as him. So? Toka's face turned red, she shouted again. I want to be Shido's fiancé. Chapter 496. I can't believe it ended up like this. Wu Yan laid on the sofa in the living room of Itsuka's house. He looked around at the dark living room and he wanted to cry, but no tears came out. But that's fine too. If I really sleep in the same room with Kurumi under Kotori and the others' eyes, I'm afraid I'll have to worry about the door being kicked open for the whole night. Wu Yan sighed and shifted his body. He leaned his head against the high pillow on the sofa and looked at the ceiling. His wine-red eyes started to lose focus. I wonder how Chuju and the others are doing. It has been almost a month since Wu Yan came to the date battle world. In other words, Wu Yan has been here for almost a month. 1 month felt like a long time, but it felt like a short period of time. In such a short period of time, there were many more people around him who were tied to him. Based on the time ratio between the Spalier world and the Spalier world, I should be gone for about half a day. Half a day, I wonder if Hinajiku and the rest will miss me. He mumbled to himself in a half-joking, half-serious manner. Wu Yan thought for a bit before his lips started twitching. In my opinion, there's an 80% chance that he's forgotten where I am. Wu Yan thought about the girls who are usually reliable but sometimes unreliable. Especially Istria, he couldn't help but sigh. At the entrance of the hall, he heard a slight kacha sound. Amidst the silence of the hall, Wu Yan could clearly hear the sound. He subconsciously turned around to look at the source of the sound. The door of the hall was pushed open and a small head popped out. 2 red ponytails were shining in the dark night and a pair of black ribbons were quivering on top of her head. She looked like a kitten that was about to steal something. She was very cute. It was none other than Coterie. Due to the darkness in the living room, Coterie didn't notice a pair of wine-red eyes staring at her. She thought Wu Yan was asleep. She looked around and closed the door. She tiptoed towards the sofa. Wu Yan didn't react until he heard Coterie's footsteps. He placed his hand on his forehead and closed his eyes. He adjusted his breathing and pretended to be asleep. The living room at night is dark and silent. It's a bit of an exaggeration to say that you can't even see your fingers in front of you. With Coterie's eyesight, she can only see things that are closer to her. By the time Wu Yan entered Coterie's line of sight, she was already in front of the sofa. Coterie patted her chest when she saw Wu Yan sleeping. She stared at Wu Yan's sleeping face with her red eyes. After a while, she grumbled in a dissatisfied manner. Seriously, how old are you? Don't you know how to find a blanket to cover yourself with when you're sleeping? Coterie raised the thing in her hand. It was a blanket. Coterie laid the blanket on Wu Yan's body. She covered the sofa and Wu Yan's body with the blanket, leaving only his head exposed. Then she stood up. Coterie blushed when she saw Wu Yan's sleeping face. She looked a bit hesitant as she kept glancing at Wu Yan's face. Then she averted her gaze as if she was startled by something. She looked a bit flustered and shy at the same time. After a while, Coterie mustered up some courage and laid her head in front of Wu Yan's face. She closed her eyes and kissed Wu Yan's face. Then she moved her head away. Coterie blushed even more. Coterie calmed her racing heartbeat and stole a glance at Wu Yan. After making sure her little movement didn't wake Wu Yan up, she sighed in relief. She muttered something to Wu Yan. "Good night, Onii-san. If possible, I'd like to say good night too." Coterie almost shrieked when she heard Wu Yan's words. Coterie turned to Wu Yan and she saw a half-smile on his face. Alas, the sofa is soft but not as comfortable as a bed. There's no way to say good night. Why you? Coterie's mouth slowly widened. She pointed a trembling finger at Wu Yan. Her face turned completely red. "You're still awake?" "Yeah." Wu Yan sat up from the sofa with a weird grin on his face. He teased her. "It's a good thing I didn't fall asleep yet. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had the chance to see such a gentle side of my cute sister." "You." Coterie blushed. She looked at the teasing Wu Yan and felt a little dizzy. Coterie shuddered at the thought of how she had just kissed him and said good night to him. She wanted nothing more than to find a hole to hide in. Coterie shuddered more and more, circles appeared in her eyes. She lowered her head, not daring to look at Wu Yan's face. Her face turned purple under her bangs. "You already knew." Wu Yan knew what she was referring to. He waved his hand carelessly. "Well, what's the big deal? It's just a kiss on the cheek. We've already kissed on the lips. Why are you so shy?" Wu Yan's nonchalant tone infuriated Coterie. She resisted the urge to kick Wu Yan's face. She snorted and turned around, planning to return to her room. Wu Yan called out to Coterie. "Coterie, wait." "What?" Coterie said angrily. She made up her mind that if Wu Yan dares to tease her again, she'll stomp on his face even if she has to wake up the others. Of course, Coterie was disappointed. Wu Yan didn't intend to tease her at all. Instead, his eyes flickered and his mouth opened as if he wanted to say something but hesitated. Coterie furrowed her brows at Wu Yan's reaction. "What are you doing? Why are you dragging your feet? Just say it." Wu Yan calmed down and he waved his hand at Coterie. "Coterie, come sit down, I have something I want to talk to you about." Wu Yan's serious tone startled Coterie. She nodded and sat down beside Wu Yan. She didn't say anything, she just waited like that. Her instincts told her that what Wu Yan is going to say next isn't going to be a simple matter. What Wu Yan is about to say is nothing to Wu Yan. But for Coterie it's not that simple. Wu Yan is going to explain everything to Coterie. Wu Yan wanted to find a time to have a showdown with Coterie. After all, he can't just leave the dungeon quest unfinished. He's done with the basic objective of coming to this world. There aren't many opportunities for him to improve his strength in this world. Now there's only Wu Yan and Coterie here. There's no better time than now to explain everything. When he first arrived in this world, Ratatosker found out about him from the surveillance system. Coterie also knows that he's not from this world. It's not that troublesome to explain everything. Wu Yan's voice slowly echoed in the silent living room. Chapter 497. In the quiet hall, two figures were sitting on the sofa. One of them seemed to be talking about something. In the entire space, only his voice echoed in the darkness, and all of it was transmitted into the ears of the other person. Although the voice was soft, the content could not be ignored. This could be seen from the frown on the other person's face. As time went by, Wu Yan explained his origin, identity, and the system to Coterie in a way that Coterie could understand. Basically, Wu Yan told her everything that happened before he got the system and came to the Spalier world. He also told her about Chuju, Mikoto and the others. Of course, there's no way Wu Yan is going to say something like, "I have almost 10 wives." Using Wu Yan's own words, they are good friends he met in other dungeon worlds. As for how good these good friends are, Wu Yan would have to be really bored to death to talk about it. When Wu Yan's final words reached Coterie's ears, the hall fell into silence once more. Coterie's expression flickered as she tried to make out the changes in her expression. After digesting all the information, Coterie raised her head and looked at Wu Yan. In other words, you came to this world because you wanted to obtain that spatial pearl. But if you want to leave this world, you have to complete 3 missions. You've already completed 2 of them, so there's only 1 left, right? Yes. Well, that's the gist of it. Wu Yan replied. He looked at Coterie with a puzzled expression. He's not sure if it's just his imagination, but he felt like Coterie's mood got worse after he explained everything to her. Coterie fell into deep thought. She turned her head and looked ahead. You're telling me this now. Is this your last mission? Do you need me to do something? Yes. It's not that I need you to do anything. Wu Yan smiled sheepishly. But the last mission is to get something. That thing is related to me. Coterie interrupted Wu Yan and narrowed her eyes. Her expression was as calm as an ancient well. What is it? Yes. Wu Yan finally got to the point. He started to get nervous. After hesitating for a while, Wu Yan said carefully, Fraxinus. What did you say? Coterie looked at Wu Yan and stared at Wu Yan's wine-red eyes. Wu Yan shrunk his head. Wu Yan scratched his face and raised his hand awkwardly. I need Fraxinus. Coterie's expression turned cold. She sat on the sofa and stared at Wu Yan without saying a word. Wu Yan's expression changed. You want the Fraxinus? The entire airship? Coterie asked 2 questions in a flat tone. It's hard to tell what she's thinking. Wu Yan decided not to beat around the bush. He put on a, I am going for broke look and he told Coterie. Yeah, my last mission is to turn Fraxinus into a noble phantasm and store it in the gate of Babylon. That way I will get the entire Fraxinus. Coterie pursed her lips and said with a faint smile, Do you think that's possible? I know that this request is too much. Fraxinus is Ratatosker's main base. It plays a crucial role in the operation against the elves. If we lose Fraxinus, Ratatosker will be paralyzed. Wu Yan bitterly laughed. Then he put on a serious face. But, as you know, if I leave this world, the time in this world will be frozen. Even if I take Fraxinus with me, there won't be any negative effects. Even if I spend hundreds or thousands of years in another world, when I return to this world, it will only be a blink of an eye for the people of Ratatosker. Wu Yan chuckled at this point. So, Coterie, can't you just lend me Fraxinus for a blink of an eye? Coterie went silent. She turned her head away. Her face is still expressionless, but Wu Yan can see that Coterie's hands are gripping her skirt so hard that her joints are turning white. That's true. According to what you said, Fraxinus will only be gone for a blink of an eye. It won't affect Ratatosker's operation at all. Lucian nodded. Wu Yan's lips curled into a happy smile, but Coterie's next sentence froze his smile. However, I refuse your request. Huh? Wu Yan was stunned, his body shook. He looked at Coterie in disbelief. Refuse? The expressionless Coterie didn't even look at him. Wu Yan was stunned. Wu Yan expected Coterie to hesitate or even agree to his request. He didn't expect Coterie to reject him without even thinking about it. Why? Wu Yan said anxiously. It's just a blink of an eye. Can't you lend it to me? Or is there some other reason? There's no other reason. Coterie turned to Wu Yan and said coldly, I just don't want to lend it to you. Wu Yan raised an eyebrow. He looked at Coterie and frowned. Why? Coterie lowered her head. She bit her lips so hard she almost broke it. Wu Yan was surprised. Kotori's eyes started to turn misty. You. Kotori looked at Wu Yan, her eyes were watery. Do you want to leave this world that badly? Wu Yan flinched, his wine-red eyes flashed, his expression turned strange. Kotori, you don't want to lend me Fraxinus because you don't want me to leave this world? Wu Yan already knew the answer after he said that. Who doesn't want to leave you? Kotori jumped up. Her sorrowful face turned red with panic. She stammered. I was just worried that Toka and the others would go berserk if you left. Ratatosker would lose a general, that's all. That's right, that's all. Wu Yan narrowed his eyes, he rubbed his chin and showed an intriguing smile. Wu Yan looked at Kotori. Kotori, are you being arrogant? Kotori's expression froze, she shouted angrily. Who's being arrogant? You're the arrogant one. Kotori's words only made Wu Yan grin even more. Kotori stomped her feet in annoyance. Anyway, I won't lend you Fraxinus. Kotori didn't wait for Wu Yan's reply, she snorted and ran back to her room, leaving Wu Yan alone. He ran away. Wu Yan shook his head, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Kotori didn't seem like she was against him taking Fraxinus away. She just didn't want him to leave this place, so she decided to let him do as he pleased. This girl. Wu Yan smiled. I told you, it's just a blink of an eye, what's there to be reluctant about? Chapter 498. When a bright golden light shot from one side of the sky to the ground, the dark clouds in the sky seemed to have seen their natural enemy and scattered at a speed visible to the naked eye. When the endless golden light shone on the ground, the sky was already a clear blue. The golden light shone all over the ground and naughtily drilled into the windows of a few buildings without shelter. It brought light and warmth to the buildings that were previously in darkness. Wu He's house is one of these buildings. In his sleep, Wu Yan could feel his nose itching. He couldn't help but raise his nose, but the more he raised it, the more itchy Wu Yan felt. Moreover, there was a small voice that sounded like a mosquito buzzing in his ear. For someone like Wu Yan who loves to sleep in, this is the most painful torture. Under this torture, his sleepiness receded like the tide and he gradually regained consciousness. This time Wu Yan could clearly hear the buzzing in his ear, but the voice seemed to have become a little sharp. Look at me. Just leave it to me. The sharp and familiar voice woke up Wu Yan's last bit of drowsiness. His eyelids trembled and he slowly opened his eyes. The first thing he saw was a rabbit-shaped doll wearing a black eye patch, dancing about 10 centimeters away from his face. Shitona. Wu Yan subconsciously called out the name of the thing in front of him. Only then did he open his eyes, startling the blue figure next to him. Good morning. Shitona said in a daze. When Wu Yan turned his head towards her, Shitona panicked and hid the doll behind her back and ran out. Not long after she raised her feet, Shitona discovered that not only did she not run out, she was hugged by a pair of hands and flew back into a warm embrace. You little girl, you actually played a prank on me. Wu Yan grabbed Shitona's cheeks and pinched them, eliciting a soft moan from Shitona. It was Shiori-san. She told me to wake Shiori-san. Shitona held Wu Yan's hands and looked at Wu Yan pitifully with her big blue eyes. Her cuteness made Wu Yan dizzy. Shiori-san told you to wake me up? Wu Yan adjusted the position of the loli in his arms to face him. He was a little surprised. Why did you wake me up? Isn't Kotori the one who usually wakes me up? I'm still asleep. Shitona blinked and said. Kotori's still asleep? Wu Yan laughed. This is truly a miracle. Hugging Yono, Wu Yan stood up from the sofa and looked around the living room. The living room isn't as dark as it was last night. Instead, it's so bright that it's blinding to the eyes. Resplendent rays of sunlight streamed in from the windows, adding a bit of warmth to the autumn season. In the kitchen, Shiori-san is busy preparing breakfast. Only Wu Yan and Shitona are left in the living room. Kotori, Kurumi, and Toka are nowhere to be seen. Wu Yan was a little surprised. Kurumi didn't live with him before, so he didn't know much about her. She usually wakes up around this time. Toka likes to laze around in the morning, so Wu Yan didn't find it strange that she didn't wake up at this time. However, it's strange that Kotori isn't up yet. Usually, apart from Shiori, Kotori was the first to appear in the living room, but she was still asleep. Is it because I talked with her for too long last night? Patting Shitona's head, Wu Yen squatted down and put Shitona on the ground. Shitona, go help Shiori-san, I'll go wake up the 3 lazy pigs. Shitona nodded and ran into the kitchen. Shitona was the only one left in Shitona's arms, laughing. The Shido who likes to sleep and called others lazy pigs. Wu Yan's lips twitched. He scratched his face and helplessly walked up the stairs. Shitona's house is quite big, at least it's bigger than a normal house. It can accommodate 5 or 6 people. Wu Yan deliberately slowed down. 3 minutes later, Wu Yan arrived at Toka's room. Toka, wake up. Wu Yan, who doesn't have the habit of knocking on the door, didn't even knock. He yawned and walked in. However, Wu Yan couldn't finish his sentence. Shido. Toka looked at Wu Yan in shock. She held a shirt in her hand and froze on the spot. That's not the problem is that Toka is in a complete state. The two of them, one was yawning as he opened the door, while the other was preparing to put on her clothes. They were frozen on the spot, staring at each other in a daze in the silent environment. It's time to wake up, Shiori-san is about to make breakfast. Wu Yan said calmly. He scanned 10 fragrance from head to toe at the fastest speed he had ever done in his life. He finished scanning her in 1,000th of a second. Then he slammed the door shut. The moment the door was shut, a scream came from 10 Fragrance's room. Wu Yan wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. He couldn't help but rejoice in his heart. Fortunately, he reacted quickly. Otherwise, without the obstruction of the door, 10 Incense's voice would have spread throughout the entire Wu He's house. In addition to rejoicing, Wu Yan was also in a daze. Thinking back to the last glimpse of 10 Fragrance's delicate body, his heart was slightly heated. One must know that in the morning men were the most energetic. Wu Yan arrived at Kotori's room. Wu Yan forgot to knock on the door as he pushed the door open with ease. His eyes widened in shock as he stared at the door in bewilderment. Kotori is also in the room. She's also naked like Wu Yan. She's about to throw her pajamas away. Wu Yan. Kotori. The wine-red pupils and the red pupils looked at each other. The frozen scene that had appeared in Zhou Xian's room just now appeared again. However, as time passed, the pair of red pupils began to become gloomy. Seeing the red eyes turn black, Wu Yan was shocked and he quickly called out to her. Time to get up, Shiori is about to make breakfast. Following that, there was the sound of a door being slammed shut. After that, a series of cracking sounds came from the other side of the door. It was the sound of Kotori smashing something against the door. Someone rejoiced again. At the same time, he was also impressed by his speed of closing the door. I didn't expect to get 2 eye candy in one morning. Is this what they mean by, the early bird gets the worm? Wu Yan mumbled to himself. He raised his head and looked at the door of his room. He laughed to himself. If you've got guts, give this bro 3 rounds. Wu Yan pushed the door open and the smile on his face changed drastically. His face contorted until his eyes turned into 2 beady eyes. In the room, Kurumi looked at the door in surprise. Her wine-red eyes were stunned for a moment before returning to normal. She covered her mouth and said with an evil smile, sure Dao, if you want to see, just say it. It's not like I haven't seen it before. With an awkward expression, Wu Yan looked at Kurumi, who only has 1 cutie on her. He wanted to cry but no tears would come out of his eyes. You guys made an appointment, right? Chapter 499. Among the 3 meals in a day, breakfast was the easiest to prepare. If it was simple, it would only need a little bread and some seasoning sauce. Therefore, it was quite easy for Shirji to prepare breakfast. In just a short while, everything was ready. After putting all the breakfast on the table, Shirji took off her apron. Behind Shirji, the little lowly Yoshino also helped to put some things on the table with a cute smile on her face. This kind of scene happened almost every day since Yoshino came to this house. If it wasn't in the morning, she would help Shirji in the afternoon or Wu Yan in the afternoon. Yoshino's strength was relatively small, so she could only help a little. However, these little things were full of enjoyment for Yoshino. Sometimes, simplicity was happiness. Shitono was a good interpretation of this sentence. In the past, Shitono would worry every day when he would be killed in the endless pursuit. Otherwise, he would worry that he would lose control and bring fear and pain to people. He spent every day in constant worry. If it wasn't for Shitono by his side, Shitono wouldn't have been able to hold on. But now, Yoshino no longer needed to worry about this, because she no longer had the power to harm others, nor did she have a reason to be hunted down by others. All she had was the warmest days. This kind of life compared to the past was simply like heaven. Therefore Yoshino cherished all of this. Every day she would insist on helping a little bit. Because of this she felt very happy and very real. Because of this, every time there were some easier jobs, Wu Yan would let Yoshino help. Even Shirji, after objecting at the beginning, did not object anymore. After all, looking at the heartfelt smile on Yoshino's face, Shiori was also very happy. Naturally, she wouldn't have the heart to snatch all of this. Of course, Shiori would only agree to let Yoshino do the easy work. Some of the more heavy work, Shiori would absolutely not let Yoshino do it. In the entire Wu He family, the one who dotes on the 4 attendants the most is not Wu Yan but Shirji. Not long after, the door of the hall was opened, attracting the attention of Shiori and Yoshino, who were setting the tableware on the table. The two looked up and saw Toka walking over from the other side of the door. As usual, she had a bow-like hair ornament on her head, but what made the two puzzled was that Toka's face looked very red. "What's wrong? Toka, your face is so red." Shiori looked at Toka strangely and asked with concern, "Are you sick? If you have something to say, then say it. Don't hide it." "Not pooping, not pooping." Toka quickly waved her hand, but she didn't explain why her face was so red, which made Shiori puzzled. 10 Incense looked around the hall and asked in a casual tone, "Yes. Where's Shirdao?" Shiori got even more suspicious when she heard Toka's nonchalant tone. She has never heard Toka being so nonchalant when she asked about Wu Yan. In the past, whenever Toka mentioned Wu Yan's name, there would be a hint of excitement in her tone. Now that she's so nonchalant, there must be something wrong with her. Shiori touched her chin and suddenly came to a realization. It must be because of Tokasaki Kurumi. It's only natural that Shiori would think this way. In Shiori's mind, Toka is Wu Yan's girlfriend, the girlfriend of the person she likes. If one day a fiancé suddenly popped up beside him, no matter who it is, they wouldn't feel good about it. At this time in Shiori's heart, Toka is the one who feels bad. Shirji looked at 10 Fragrance sympathetically. She sighed in her heart. 10 Fragrance's reaction was understandable. If it were her, she would also feel pressured if the person she liked had a fiancé. Moreover, the fiancé was so beautiful and elegant. Shirji herself would also feel pressured. Although Toka's looks are top-notch and her figure is comparable to Tokasaki Kurumi's, it's still stressful to have an opponent of the same caliber. Under such conditions, one is a natural foodie and the other is an elegant noble lady. Most people would pay attention to the latter. After thinking for a while, Shiori looked at Toka and grabbed her hands. With a firm and powerful voice she said to Toka, "Don't worry. Toka-chan. I Shiori Itsuka. I will stand on your side." After saying that, Shiori nodded to herself and patted her own butt, putting on an "I support you" posture. Needless to say, if 10 Fragrance was really what Shiori imagined, she would definitely be very touched. Unfortunately, Toka didn't think that way. Even though Kurumi's appearance made her inexplicably irritated, the reason why she's indifferent towards Wu Yan is because she was caught naked. She's feeling a little guilty. Toka looked at Shiori, who was nodding her head in confusion. She tilted her head and pointed at her lips. She couldn't understand what was going on, so she could only nod her head. Yoshino on the side was confused. She raised Yoshino and whispered, "Shiori, you've become so weird." "No, no, no." Yoshino giggled. "This is love." "Love?" Yoshino blinked. She thought of something and her face started to turn red. In the strange atmosphere in the hall, the door was opened again. "It's Wu Yan and Kurumi." Seeing Wu Yan, Toka blushed and quickly lowered her head. She stuffed the breakfast in front of her into her mouth and buried her head in it. Shiori was exasperated. At this time she should have sweetly said good morning. Shiori glanced at Kurumi, who is hugging Wu Yan's arm. He felt a bit angry. Compared to Kurumi, Shiori is more inclined towards Toka, who she has known for quite some time. She didn't even look at Wu Yan in a friendly manner. Wu Yan bitterly turned his head away, feeling helpless. He felt like he got shot even when he was lying down. The next moment, Coterie also appeared in the hall. Chapter 500. In the Spalier World. It has been a day since the Academy tournament ended. Inside Silveria World Institute, whenever you meet someone you know or don't know, you will unconsciously bring up the topic of yesterday's competition. Whenever you talk about yesterday's competition, your face would be filled with excitement and saliva would fly everywhere. You can't help but want to say that you were the one who was at the competition yesterday. You can't help but want to say that you were the one who was at the competition yesterday. Gradually, the Academy event that had just ended for a day had become a hot topic among the students. Amongst them, the most attention-grabbing ones were the top 10 in the Academy's ranking. In other words, they were the newly ranked top 10 experts. Undoubtedly, this Academy tournament is a milestone for the students of the Spalier World Academy and the Spalier World Academy. Two things happened during the Academy tournament that could set off a huge wave in the Academy. First of all, among the top 10 students in the Academy competition, 5 of them were new students who had only been in the Academy for a month. If someone had told any of the students in the Academy before the new students had entered the Academy that there were 5 new students who had been in the Academy for a month who were ranked in the top 10 of the Academy, then that person would definitely have been spat to death by the entire Academy. In the entire Spalier world, the Spalier World Academy is the only academy in the Spalier world. It is a super academy jointly run by 3 empires. In other words, this is the only place where the real geniuses in the Spalier world can grow quickly. It is not an exaggeration to say that the Spalier World Academy has gathered all the super geniuses in the world. In the Spalier World Academy, the top 10 powerhouses are called the top 10 geniuses in the world. No one would object to that. Therefore, the Academy rankings are very valuable. Now, among the top 5 students, there were actually 5 new students. If it wasn't for the series of events that these new students had caused in the short span of a month, which had made their names known, it was likely that the nearly 10 million students in the Academy would have directly found a brick and tried to knock themselves awake. What was even more inconceivable was that these 5 top 10 newcomers were from the same group. In the Academy there are 12 top forces. Everyone knows about them. These 12 top forces represent the 12 top forces in the Spalier world. Their positions are unshakable. However, among these 12 top forces, the strongest person in the weaker 2 forces couldn't even make it into the top 10. As for the other 10 top forces, only one of them could make it into the rankings. But now 5 of the top 10 students are from the same group. How can people not look at each other in dismay? Ever since the end of yesterday's Academy competition and the new rankings were released, countless people began to make guesses. They were guessing whether the 5 top 10 new students were from the same faction or not. After this news spread, it became a laughing stock. In the entire Spalier world, if there is a group that can cultivate these 5 super geniuses, it is impossible for them to be unknown. It wasn't that no one tried to investigate the background of these new students. Almost every force tried to investigate, but no one was able to find out their origins, including the 3 empires and the 9 great clans. If even the 3 empires and the 9 great clans couldn't find out the origins of these new students, then there is no need to talk about the other forces. Suddenly, the 10 special students who entered the Spalier World Academy a month ago became the most mysterious existence. Just when the upper echelons of the 3 empires and the 9 great clans were planning to use other methods to obtain information from the new students, the 12 stage 9 powerhouses of the Academy Council spoke up at the same time. The 12 stage 9 powerhouses of the Academy Council gave the order to their respective forces to stop investigating the new students. In terms of their attitude towards the new students, they can try to be friendly, but they are not allowed to use extreme methods. The 12 stage 9 powerhouses of the Council were the highest existences in the 3 empires and the 9 great clans. Naturally, no one would object to their words. Thus, the investigation of this matter came to an end. Since the 3 empires and the 9 great clans had stopped their investigations, the other forces, after receiving the limelight, also gave up their investigations even though they were baffled. They were afraid of stirring up trouble. In a short time, the news of the new students, other than the Spalier World Academy, also became a hot topic among the other forces in the Spalier world. As for Silveria World Institute, the other thing that caused a lot of commotion was the champion of the school tournament, the new strongest student of the institute. No one expected Princess Sylph, who was once the strongest student in the academy for a long time, to be pulled down by someone during the academy's competition. Xianxia. This new strongest student almost flipped the sky of the academy upside down. Of course, this is because Xianxia is also a new student. A new student who entered the Spalier World Academy for a month defeated the strongest student in the academy. This is no different from an alien coming to Earth and pulling down the head of state of a country. As a result, the entire Spalier World Academy is no different from a large food market. The name Xianxia can be heard everywhere in the academy. In addition, among the new students, there were 5 who occupied the top 10 rankings. The 12 top powers of the academy began to panic. They were afraid that these Qing Yaojin who came out of nowhere would establish their own powers. At that time, with the title of the top 10 in the academy, it would definitely attract a lot of geniuses. It was even possible that there would be students who would jump ship among their own powers. If that happens, the power structure of the academy will be reshuffled. The water in the academy will be as muddy as a swamp. Fortunately, under the indirect or direct questioning of these factions, they finally received some good news. The new students had no intention of forming their own factions. This undoubtedly caused the leaders of the top factions to heave a sigh of relief. Of course, the reason why this news is not bad is because the new students didn't intend to form their own factions. However, there is one person who already formed her own faction before the tournament started. Shoguha Misaki, the leader of the new faction Starlight Queen. In less than a month, the popular queen of Silveria World Institute became one of the top 10 rankers in the ranking. Not only that, her faction Starlight Queen also has the dark horse, the new strongest student, Xianxia. These 2 golden word signboards had already become the beehive of the academy, constantly attracting the students of the academy. Countless students came to join the Starlight Queen, allowing the Starlight Queen, who was born a month ago, to quickly grow up. Unfortunately, Starlight Queen only accepts female students. Many male students had no choice but to return empty-handed. Even so, in just a day, Starlight Queen already has the strength of a top faction. She has the strength to rival the other 12 factions of the academy. The 12 factions of the academy officially became the 13 factions of the academy. Chapter 501. Spalier World Academy Villa District. Since the end of yesterday's academy exam, the villa area had become much more lively. All the students knew that in one of the villas in the villa area, there were 3 powerhouses who were ranked in the top 10. But that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is that these 3 top 10 strongest individuals haven't joined any faction yet. Within the academy, almost all the leaders of the forces were tempted. Even the forces that were usually not well known were the same. After all, if they could obtain the support of one of the top 10 experts, then no matter how weak the force was, it would definitely become famous. Moreover, it would be able to attract new members to join, not to mention 3 of them. Thus, after the event, the villa district's entrance to Wu Yan's villa was almost broken by people. 90% of them came with the intention of befriending him. If they don't do well, maybe he'll take a liking to them and they'll join him. With this mentality, a lot of people came here with the intention of chatting and paying a visit. Of course, these people don't think it's a big deal, but for Chuju, Mikoto and the others, that's not the case. 1 or 2 is fine, 3 or 4 is fine, even 10 is acceptable. But 10 people in a row, almost as soon as the person in front stepped out of the door, the person behind him would take his place. It's been like this for an entire day. Who can stand this kind of chatting? Thus, Hinajuku and the rest closed the door to the villa, using the excuse that the owner of the villa is still recovering from his injuries at the academy and is still recuperating. Only then did the villa become a little more peaceful. But there are pros and cons to doing this. The good thing is that they can chase away those annoying people, but the bad thing is that the girls can't go out anymore. In the living room of the villa, Chuju and Mikoto are drinking the black tea that Ikaros brewed. They looked at each other for the umpteenth time and sighed at the same time. When is this going to end? Mikoto bitterly smiled. Her tone is full of bitterness. She's not the only one in the villa, but after staying here for so long, the active Mikoto is starting to feel bored. It should be over soon, Chuju said uncertainly as she placed the cup in her hand on the table. Those people are just hot-headed for a moment. That's why they came here to try their luck and see if they can get us to join them. After some time, they will understand that we don't want to join any force at all. But this after a while, how long will it take? Mikoto wanted to cry but no tears came out. Even if you ask me, I don't know, Chuju said helplessly when she saw Mikoto's exaggerated expression. Although Kaisha-sama is more patient than Mikoto, it's only by a little. It's not easy to keep Chuju in one place unless there's something she's interested in. Mikoto sighed when she heard Chuju's words. You're fine, you just have to deal with those annoying people. Unlike me, I'm constantly being harassed. Chuju chuckled when she heard that. Who can you blame? You were the one who made an agreement with Sylph. If you lost, you would join her faction. Now that Astria defeated Sylph, she's cultivating hard and doesn't have the time to look for you. However, the higher-ups of her faction wouldn't let go of a chance to recruit a top 3 ranker. I didn't lose. Mikoto shouted angrily. I was just careless. Yes, that's right. When Sylph shows up, I will challenge her to a duel to get my revenge. Next time I won't lose. Mikoto clenched her fists and declared proudly. She can already see the moment of her victory. When that happens, I won't have to join those damned factions anymore. Oh, you. Chuju shook her head. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He felt sorry for Sylph. With Mikoto's personality, Hinajuku knows that no matter how many times she loses, she won't admit defeat so easily. This time, Mikoto will use revenge as an excuse to fight Sylph again. If she loses again, she'll use the same excuse to refuse to join Sylph's faction until the day she actually wins. That's why Hinajuku didn't expect Mikoto to be so stubborn. In other words, Mikoto will not only go back on her word, but she will also go all out against Sylph. Mikoto will not rest until she defeats Sylph. Poor Sylph, not only did she fail to recruit a strong person she fancied into her faction, she even got herself into trouble. At this moment, Chuju can only sympathize with Sylph's situation. If Wu Yen, who is currently in the dating world, knew what Chuju is thinking, he would definitely be happy. He would even pat Chuju's shoulder and tell her that there was a hedgehog named Handyman who was pestered by Mikoto because of this. Ikaros, who is standing on the side with a teapot in her hand, stared blankly at the hot-blooded Mikoto. She then looked at Chuju, who has a strange expression on her face. She has a few question marks above her head. It's obvious that she doesn't understand what these two are thinking. While the 3 people in the hall were deep in thought, a small figure walked down the stairs of the villa. One of her small hands was holding onto a beret flower hat, while the other hand was constantly rubbing her sleepy eyes. Her light yellow hair looked slightly messy, and even the side of her ponytail was listlessly hanging there. She looked very lazy. Flan. Chuju was the first to notice Flandra-chan coming down the stairs. Chuju was surprised to see her. Flan, are you awake? Yes. Flandra-chan yawned and sat on a chair in front of everyone. Flan is hungry, I want to eat cake. Both Chuju and Mikoto laughed at the sight of Flandra-chan yawning and asking for cake. They have to admit Flandra-chan is really cute like this. Chuju, who is closest to Flandra-chan, quickly helped her tidy up her messy hair before turning to Ikaros. Ikaros, is there any more cake? Cake? Ikaros nodded and pulled out a cake out of nowhere. She placed it in front of Flandra-chan. Flandra-chan couldn't help but smile sweetly at the sight of the cake. Flandra-chan took a bite of the cake and the sweet taste flooded her taste buds, causing her to blush a little. But in the next moment, that trace of satisfaction on her face turned into depression. Ah, I really want Oniai-chan to feed Flandra-chan cake. The moment she said that, the living room went silent. Hinajuku and Mikoto seemed to be lost in their thoughts. Karas's indigo eyes lit up, ripples were forming in her eyes. After a while, Mikoto snorted and said with a sour tone. That guy is having fun in the dungeon world, who knows how many girls he's messing around with. Chuju rubbed her forehead and sighed. Then why didn't you go with him? Who knew that Sylph would suddenly go into seclusion? Mikoto said discontentedly. She opened her mouth as if she wanted to say something, but suddenly she froze. This feeling. Mikoto's forehead flashed with lightning. It's my sister. Why is she here? Almost at the same time, a voice came from the entrance. Is One-sama in? Misaka knocked on the door and said politely. Chapter 502. Mikoto, Hinajiku, Mikoto, Flandra-chan, and Ikaros were all startled when they heard Misaka's sister's voice. Even Mikoto, who had a guess as to what was going on when she sensed Misaka's sister's electromagnetic field, was no exception. Misaka-chan. Hinajiku looked at the door in surprise and tilted her head in confusion. Didn't Shokuhu Misaki send them to the behemoth forest to farm experience for us? Why are they here? Mikoto didn't know how to react, so she nodded. When she did, she quickly ran to the door and opened it. In the next moment, a figure that looked exactly like Mikoto with a pair of military goggles on her head entered everyone's sight. Huh. Flandra-chan's jaw dropped. She pointed her finger at Misaka's sister. She looked at Mikoto, then back at Mikoto. It's to Mikoto. Mikoto-san. Mikoto was overjoyed. It's really you. Yes, One-ima, Mikoto is here to see you. Mikoto is very happy to see One-ima. The smile on Mikoto's face froze. She looked at Misaka's sister, who said she was happy to see her but didn't show any emotion on her face. A sense of helplessness crept into Mikoto's heart. She pulled herself together and said to Mikoto, "Anyways, come in." Mikoto was just about to turn her body to let Mikoto in when a sweet voice came from behind her. Mikoto's expression froze for the second time. "Era Mikoto, I'm standing right here and you didn't even notice me, how sad." Mikoto's mouth twitched. She closed her tea-colored eyes as if she didn't want to witness the cruel reality. She started sobbing as she mumbled. "It's an illusion. It's an illusion. It must be an illusion. Oh? Looks like Misaka-sen doesn't like me at all. To think that I brought my sister here to meet you." Perhaps Mikoto's mumbling was too loud. The owner of the voice heard it and spoke in the same voice with a hint of dissatisfaction. "All right." Chuju walked out and said helplessly. "Since you're all here, come in. It'll be troublesome if those annoying bastards see you." "Hee Chuju, you're the best." Shokuhu Misaki giggled behind Misaka's sister. She was wearing a white uniform with golden edges. Her long golden hair made her look even more elegant. Her golden eyes twinkled with a hint of a smile. Behind Shokuhu Misaki, Astria, Kinohata Sai, Frenda, and Takitsubu Riku stood facing each other. Their bodies were of different sizes and sizes under the sunlight. It was quite a sight to behold. "Chuju, Mikoto, it looks like you guys didn't have a good time. Even the door is closed." Kinohata Sai greeted Chuju and the others with a smile. She sounded like she's taking pleasure in their misfortune. It's hard to tell if she's actually making fun of them. Hinajiku rolled her eyes at Kinohata Sai and ignored her as she walked into the villa. Mikoto pulled Misaka Meijin into the villa as well, making Kinohata Sai feel bored. Thus the 5 girls also walked into the villa. "Mikoto, are you doing well in the behemoth forest? How about the other sisters? Are they doing well as well?" Mikoto said with concern. She glared at Shokuhu Misaki. She was the one who arranged for the Misaka sisters to stay in the giant beast forest. One-ima, Mikoto is doing well. The other sisters are doing well too. Mikoto-san answered One-sama's question. She started thinking if there's a good place for her to live. "You're still the same as always." That's a really annoying way of speaking. Chuju laughed dryly. Mikoto also felt a little helpless about Mikoto-san's way of speaking. However, she has a lot of questions for Mikoto-san, so she didn't have the time to complain. "Since you're back, are the other sisters back as well?" "No, only Misaka came back this time. The other Misaka are still in the giant beast forest." Misaka answered honestly. At the same time she hesitated. "How should I tell my sister that I came back to ask for help?" Misaka's sister stood in front of everyone. Her face was as calm as an ancient well. She said something that shocked everyone. "Help." Mikoto stood up abruptly. Anxiety flashed through her brown eyes. "What do you mean? Why are you asking for help? Could it be that the other sisters are in danger?" Mikoto shook her head. "Calm down, Onima, the Misaka aren't in any danger. Misaka looked at the anxious Oniisama and quickly said, Mikoto didn't relax after hearing Mikoto-san's words. Then why are you asking for help? Shokuhu Misaki, who was standing beside Mikoto-san, suddenly spoke up. It's better for me to explain this matter. As soon as Shokuhu Misaki finished speaking, Misaka Mikoto stopped what she was about to say and looked at Shokuhu Misaki. It was as if Shokuhu Misaki was the leader, and this made Mikoto feel slightly displeased. Shokuhu Misaki took 2 steps forward and said, to put it simply, Mikoto-san's request for help isn't accurate. To be more precise, she's asking for help. Asking for help. Everyone looked at each other and waited for Shokuhu Misaki to continue. According to what Mikoto said, something strange happened in the behemoth forest. Shokuhu Misaki didn't beat around the bush and went straight to the point. In the past, demonic beasts in the behemoth forest, other than those that live in groups, they wouldn't gather together. That's because they see other creatures as enemies. If they bump into each other, they'll start fighting. But today, when Mikoto-san and Mikoto-san were hunting demonic beasts in the behemoth forest, they noticed that the demonic beasts that usually don't interact with each other suddenly gathered together. The demonic beasts gathered together. Chuju and Mikoto were shocked. How is that possible? We don't know the reason yet. Shokuhu Misaki shook her head and her expression turned serious. Although I don't know why the magical beasts would gather in such a regular manner, their movements have brought a lot of trouble to my younger sisters. What's going on? Hurry up and tell us. Mikoto was so anxious that she couldn't even control the electricity in her body. One can only imagine how anxious she is. Don't panic. Even though Mikoto-san and Mikoto-san are in big trouble, they aren't in any danger for now. Shokuhu Misaki said calmly. The demonic beasts in the behemoth forest didn't just gather together. They stopped attacking each other, and more importantly, these demonic beasts are on the same side. They're trying to expel the humans that appeared in the behemoth forest. Expel the humans? Chuju and Mikoto looked at each other, their eyes were filled with doubt. If that's the case, then something must have happened in the behemoth forest. Otherwise, the demonic beasts wouldn't have acted like this. Then are Mikoto-san and Mikoto being expelled as well? That's where the problem lies. Shokuhu Misaki sighed and said in a serious tone. Due to the sheer number of Mikoto-san and their orderly behavior, they were able to resist the demonic beasts. They're still in the behemoth forest. However, due to their resistance, the Mikoto-san and Mikoto were accidentally trapped in the behemoth forest by the demonic beasts. What? Mikoto was shocked. Chapter 503. Misaka's sisters are trapped in the behemoth forest? Mikoto took 2 steps back, looked at Shokuhu Misaki, and then looked at the silent Misaka sister. Then she turned around and ran out the door. Wait. What are you doing? This time it was Shokuhu Misaki's turn to be shocked. Astria, Kinohada Sayai, Frenda, and Takitsubu Riku quickly ran up to Mikoto and hugged her tightly. Let go of me. Mikoto screamed and struggled with all her might. The sisters are in danger, I have to save them. Calm down, Mikoto. Hinajuku also ran over and grabbed Mikoto's hand. Didn't Shokuhu Misaki say that? The sisters won't be in any danger. They won't be in any danger. Mikoto was fuming. They are surrounded by an army of demonic beasts and you say they won't be in any danger? Are you telling me that the demonic beasts will show mercy? Misaka-san, the sisters aren't in any danger at the moment. If you don't believe me, you can ask this sister yourself. Shokuhu Misaki said with a bitter smile. Yes, Wanihima, the sisters won't be in any danger. Mikoto's sister walked over and said. Even though the Misaka sisters are in a terrible situation right now, if we hold our ground, the demonic beasts won't be able to take us down. Don't worry, Wanihima, Mikoto said confidently. With the strength of 20,000 sisters, unless a tier 9 demonic beast appears, it'll be hard for us to take them down. Shokuhu Misaki reminded him. Don't forget, while the sisters are helping us gain EXP, they're also gaining EXP themselves. Upon hearing this, everyone suddenly remembered that they had no idea how strong their sisters were. Thus, they quickly activated the system's sensing ability and looked at the sisters. Misaka 10032. Level 52. Level 52? 6th level? Mikoto was taken aback. Looking at her sister's calm expression, she was shocked. Could it be that all 20,000 sisters have reached the 6th rank? What's so strange about that? Kinohedasai said nonchalantly. Even Frenda, Takitsubu and I have transcended to the 7th order, so what's so strange about our sisters transcending to the 6th order? Ha! Hinajuku was also shocked. You're saying that you, Frenda, and Takitsubu have all reached rank 7? Kinohedasai couldn't help but puff out her chest proudly. Frenda was the same. In the end, with the help of 20,000 sisters, the 3 of us have all reached the 7th grade. How is that possible? Chuju tilted her head in confusion. You guys have all reached the 7th tier, why did I only rise by a few levels? That's not strange. Takitsubu Riku said softly. You guys are all above the 7th order, so you don't feel much of a difference in the EXP brought by the sisters. However, we were all still at the 6th order, so the EXP that you guys could only level up a few levels is enough for us to level up. Everyone nodded their heads in realization. Indeed, the higher the level, the more experience required to level up. For a tier 7, the experience required to level up was only a few levels, but for a tier 6, the experience required to level up was enough to level up a tier. But Mikoto was still worried. The sisters are only at the 6th order, even if there are a lot of them, they should be able to take on a tier 7. But against a tier 8, isn't that a bit too much? Shokuhu Misaki smiled and shook her head. It might be hard to take on a tier 8 with only 20,000 of us, but don't forget the sisters have the Misaka network, they are connected to each other. When they work together, their collective strength is far greater than 20,000 tier 6. I can guarantee that even if there are 10 tier 8 monsters, the sisters won't be able to do anything to them. But for them to take down 20,000 sisters at once is just a pipe dream. But you said it yourself, it's a tier 8 monster. Mikoto retorted. What if a tier 9 monster appears? Do you think tier 9 monsters are as common as cabbages? Shokuhu Misaki rolled her eyes at Mikoto. A tier 9 monster is a terrifying existence in the deepest part of the behemoth forest. Even if there's something wrong with the behemoth forest right now, a tier 9 monster wouldn't appear in the outskirts, right? But, stop saying buts, how many times have you said buts already? Shokuhu Misaki smiled bitterly. Anyway, all you need to know is that the sisters aren't in any danger right now. What we need to do now is to think of a way to help the sisters break out of the encirclement, right? Shokuhu Misaki's words calmed Mikoto down a little. Everyone nodded in agreement and started to think about what to do next. Chuju looked at Shokuhu Misaki. Shokuhu, you're a smart one. What do you think we should do? Everyone turned to look at Shokuhu Misaki. It's obvious that they agree with Hinajuku Mikoto too. Even though Mikoto doesn't care about Shokuhu Misaki on the surface, she has always acknowledged Shokuhu Misaki's intellect and intelligence. Seeing everyone's attention on her, Shokuhu Misaki straightened her back and nodded. Actually, there's no need for a complicated method. Since the enemy is a monster, we'll use the most violent method. The most violent method? That's right. Shokuhu Misaki stroked her long blonde hair and smiled. According to the information my sister brought back, there is only one demonic beast leader in the demonic beast army, a tier 8 demonic beast. On our side we have Ikaros, Astria and you, Misaka, 3 tier 8 demonic beast. Why do we have to think of a way to deal with them? We'll just use brute force to break through the encirclement. We'll save the sisters. Everyone was stunned when they heard Shokuhu Misaki's words. Well, when Kinohedasai finally reacted, she jumped up and clenched her fists tightly. With a face full of excitement, she exclaimed, I really like this explanation. Chapter 504. Spalier World, Supply Town, Floating Plaza. Airships of all sizes and distances are flying around the plaza. Airships are the main means of transportation in the Spalier world, so there will always be a constant flow of people. The noise of the airships and the sound of their engines intertwined together and filled every corner of the plaza. The floating plaza is as lively as ever. On the surface, the floating square didn't seem any different from usual. However, if one were to observe carefully, they would discover that the number of floating airships that came and went was much more than the number that left. Some observant people also began to discover that the floating square today was much livelier compared to the usual floating square. Most of the airships that arrived at the floating plaza are equipped with weapons and they emit a faint aura of presence. It's obvious that they aren't ordinary people. Groups of people would disembark from the airships and after organizing themselves, they would head towards the same direction. In the distant horizon, an airship slowly descended and landed on the floating plaza. It became one of the many airships parked on the floating plaza. The moment it landed, a group of beautiful girls disembarked from the airship. For a split second, the entire floating plaza went silent for a moment before returning to normal. It was as if nothing happened. If you ignore the gazes that were directed towards the same direction, it's Mikoto and the girls who are here to help the sisters. Mikoto, Shokuhu Misaki Ikaros, Astria, Kinuhata Sayai Frenda, Takitsubu Riku and the Misaka sisters. 8 girls of different sizes disembarked from the airships. They waited until everyone else disembarked before they gathered together. Shokuhu Misaki looked around the floating plaza and saw a group of people heading towards the same direction. She furrowed her brows. Why do I feel like the atmosphere is a little weird? The girls were startled and also looked around the floating square. When they saw those people who clearly didn't fit in with the people around them and seemed to have a very clear purpose, they all looked at each other. Mikoto pondered for a moment. Are these people going to the behemoth forest as well? Based on the direction they're heading towards, there's a high chance that they're heading towards the behemoth forest. Mikoto, tell Wani-sama the results of her analysis. The girls nodded. They knew the giant beast's forest the best. After all, they had been here for quite some time. That's why they're so familiar with the forest. Kinuhadasai looked around and said, why do I feel like there are a lot of people heading towards the behemoth forest? In the end, Frenda fell into deep thought. Do they have companions trapped in the behemoth forest? I don't think so. Takitsubu Riku clicked her tongue. There are too many of them. How can there be so many people trapped in the behemoth forest? Is that so? Astria raised her hand to her forehead. She stood on her tiptoes and looked into the distance. But Mikoto-nen has a lot of sisters. The girls didn't know what to say. They have to admit Astria can be a little silly at times but her words are always accurate. I don't care. Mikoto shook her head and clenched her fists. Who cares if they have companions trapped in the behemoth forest? Let's go to the sisters. The girls nodded in agreement. They passed through the airships parked at the plaza and joined the other teams heading towards the behemoth forest. The behemoth forest is the only place in the Spalier world where demonic beasts can be found. It covers a vast area that spans across the borders of 3 empires. Every demonic beast in the forest has great uses. Their fur can be used to make equipment, their torso can be used to forge weapons and even armaments. Also, the behemoth forest is rich in all kinds of treasures. For the Spalier world, the behemoth forest is a natural treasure trove. Due to the behemoth forest, the supply town is very developed. There are a lot of resources here. All kinds of rare potions and items can be found here. Everyone who comes to the supply town will come here to look for treasures. However, the situation in the supply town today is a bit strange. A large number of people who came to the supply town didn't walk around. They didn't even look at the stalls on the street. Instead, they formed groups and rushed towards the behemoth forest aggressively. This attracted a lot of whispers from the locals. Mikoto's group is the weirdest of them all. Their expressions are serious and they're rushing towards the giant beast's forest. But instead of whispers, they're getting sighs and sighs from the people around them. After passing through the supply town, the girls came to the edge of the supply town, the entrance of the behemoth forest. When the girls saw the situation at the entrance of the behemoth forest, they were all stunned. Kinuhata Sayai was stunned as she pointed at the front. Isn't this a bit too many people? That's right, at the entrance of the behemoth forest, there is a sea of people. The black mass of people has completely occupied the area. It's as if they're occupying their own territory. They're talking about something and it's a mess. What's going on here? The girls looked at each other, unable to react. At this time, a surprised voice came from behind them. Mikoto. Why are you girls here? Mikoto quickly turned to the source of the voice. She was surprised when she saw who it was. Feifei. Why are you here? Not far away, Fei Fei came over with a group of fully armed guards. She smiled bitterly and said, I should be the one asking you this question. Fei Fei looked at the girls. Even the Academy Queen came with Starlight Queen. Seems like you girls are also here because of the abnormality in the Behemoth Forest. Shokuhu Misaki looked at Fei Fei. So you're saying that you're also here for the Behemoth Forest? Yeah. Fei Fei helplessly shook her head. The giant beast forest is very important to Silveria. Without this natural treasure, the impact on Silveria would be unimaginable. Without the magical beasts and the natural treasures, Silveria's strength would plummet to a terrifying level. Fei Fei shook her head helplessly. That's right. The giant beast forest is very important to Silveria. Without the magical beasts and natural treasures, Silveria's strength would plummet to a terrifying level. As the #1 family in the Ailu Empire, the Lori family has benefited a lot from the Behemoth Forest. Without the resources from the Behemoth Forest, the Lori family's power would be greatly reduced. Now that the demonic beasts in the Behemoth Forest are being ostracized, all the gold farming groups in the Behemoth Forest have been forced out. This is no small matter. That's why the head of the Lori family sent me here to investigate. Fei Fei's explanation enlightened the girls. Shokuhu Misaki crossed her arms and said, So that's how it is. Seems like the people here are the same. They're all sent by the big families to investigate the Behemoth Forest. Yes. Fei Fei nodded. What about you girls? Are you here for the same reason? No. Mikoto shook her head. Our comrades are trapped in the Behemoth Forest. We're here to help. I see. Then let's go in together. Everyone nodded in agreement. They gathered together and walked towards the Behemoth Forest. However, the girls here didn't know that they're involved in something big. Then Toka immediately looked at Wu Yan and said, Sure Dao, you want everyone to know about your relationship? I want everyone to know about our relationship too. Wu Yan pursed his lips, the corner of his mouth pulled into a smile uglier than crying. Toka, do you know what we're talking about or not? Toka tilted her head and said, No matter what you say, don't push me out. Whatever she wants to do with you, I want to do it with you. Wu Yan froze. Not only him, even Shiori, who was walking behind the trio with an I don't know them look on her face, is the same. The entire corridor turned silent. Only Toka's last sentence, I want to do it with you, echoed throughout the entire space. The silence lasted for 10 seconds. Then in the corridor all the classrooms suddenly burst with a strange sound. After the sound, countless heads poked out from the classroom windows and doors, looking at Wu Yan and the others. Under the gaze of countless pairs of eyes, Kurumi blinked her eyes, covered her mouth and laughed secretly. Toka looked in front of her in surprise. A few question marks appeared above her head. She didn't seem to understand why so many people suddenly came out. As for Shiori, she had already slipped away a long time ago. Wu Yan's whole body trembled, sweating profusely as he looked at the students who poked their heads out of the classroom. The strange look in their eyes made him subconsciously feel bad. At that moment his heart came up with the idea of running away. But before Wu Yan could make a move, a huge uproar sounded from the students who poked their heads out of the classroom. How dare you talk about doing things in the school? How bold. Wow. Who is that boy? Don't stop me, I'm going to burn him. I'm so envious. The two girls hugging that boy are so cute. Could it be that they said they wanted to do with that boy? That's impossible. That boy looks so ordinary, only his eyes are a little better. How could he win the hearts of two cute girls? That's not the most important thing. The most important thing is that they want to do with him. No? Burn him. Cut him. For a moment the whole corridor was noisy. Although the sound was noisy, it echoed in the space and into Wu Yan's ears. Listening to those deceptive and dangerous words, Wu Yan completely lost his calm. Two kelp-like tears flowed down from Wu Yan's eyes, covering his face full of tragedy. Wu Yan screamed. With an incredible arc he pulled his hand out of Kurumi and Toka's body and then ran into the classroom. Unfortunately, the classroom isn't a safe place. Those so-called classmates of his are also looking at him like he's some kind of scum. Wu Yan's heart kept getting hammered and the kelp-like tears on his face started flowing even more violently. Wu Yan finally understood how much pressure Itoka Shido and Toka Toka Origami felt when they were showing off their love in the classroom in the original work. He seems to have gotten his hands on Tokasaki-san and Tokasaki-san. In other words, Itsuka has a foot in two boats? This is unbearable. The slanderous words continued to enter Wu Yan's mind. Wu Yan felt like he's about to collapse. He sat down in his seat, lowered his head and pretended to be dead. When the students saw Wu Yan's reaction, they stopped slandering him. They curled their lips and turned to look at Kurumi and Toka. One of the boys spoke. Tokasaki Onishi Kami, are you really with Itsuka? The boy didn't finish his sentence but everyone knew what he meant except for Toka. Allah. Kurumi tilted her head and tapped on her lips. Her eyes suddenly turned and she laughed. Yes, Shido is my boyfriend. The moment Kurumi finished her sentence, Wu Yan, who was playing dead on the table, heard the sound of arrows piercing through his heart. He also heard the howls and howls of wolves coming from the other side. The next moment, Wu Yan heard the howls of the wolves, the sound of teeth grinding and the sound of countless sharp gazes piercing through his body. Kurumi, you're killing me. Wu Yan coughed up a mouthful of blood in his heart and he started screaming hysterically. However, Toka's voice came from behind and this time, the one mouthful of blood he coughed up turned into two mouthfuls. Toka pouted and yelled at Kurumi. Shido isn't your boyfriend. Shido is my boyfriend. You're just his fiancé. What? Everyone was stunned. What? Toka frowned. Did I say something wrong? Indeed, Toka was just stating the truth. Chapter 506. Heavenly Palace City, Itsuka's house. In the hall at the entrance to the main door, the sound of the door being pushed open rang out. Then a sweet voice saying, "I'm back," spread throughout the hall, echoing in the hall that was incomparably silent just a second ago. Wu Yan wobbled his way to the entrance of the hall. His body swayed left and right, his eyes turned into two whirlpools. He looked like a walking corpse as he slowly floated towards the sofa. When he reached the sofa, he turned around and laid down on the sofa. Really, you look so listless. As soon as you come back, you look like an old man. Shiori said to Wu Yan, who was lying on the sofa, her voice full of dissatisfaction. You don't understand. Wu Yan didn't even raise his head, he only raised his hand and mumbled in a half-dead manner. Why don't you try persevering for an entire day under the unwavering stares of those guys and menopausal girls and you will understand why I am like this. Kurumi and Kodori couldn't help but laugh. Shiori thought back to the whole day when her classmates stared at Wu Yan, who pretended to be asleep. A chill ran down her spine. She looked at Wu Yan with dissatisfaction, it turned into sympathy. Shido. Toka walked to the sofa and looked at the lifeless Wu Yan. She blamed herself. It's all my fault, I'm sorry, Shido. Wu Yan opened his eyes and looked at Toka. He bitterly laughed when he saw the guilty look on Toka's face. Why are you apologizing? It's not your fault. Really? Toka carefully glanced at Wu Yan. It's not because I said something wrong today that you're so listless, Shido. It's not your fault. It's not because of your words, 10 fragrances. It's just that your words have increased the pain I'm going through by a few times. Wu Yan couldn't say the last sentence out loud. He sat up from the sofa and patted Toka's head with a smile. Okay, don't be like this, cheer up. You should be the one who should cheer up the most, Shido. Trori snickered. Kurumi and Kodori giggled again. Wu Yan also felt a bit awkward. However, Toka seems to be enjoying Wu Yan's touch. She smiled happily and even blushed a little. She closed her eyes and rubbed against Wu Yan's hand as if she's enjoying herself. She looked like a kitten that's trying to act cute. Not far away, Kwang-san touched her chin and tilted her head. She smiled. Shirdao, I have a request. Kurumi's words attracted everyone's attention. Wu Yan looked at the smiling Kurumi and asked. What's wrong? Era. Kurumi held her cheeks and said to Wu Yan with an embarrassed tone. Let me cook tonight's dinner. Wu Yan, Kotori, Toka and Shiori were stunned. Wu Yan stood up from the sofa. Kurumi, can you cook? A little. Kurumi blinked her eyes mischievously. I used to live alone. If I didn't know how to cook, I'd starve to death. Didn't you treat people like food in the past? Shirji didn't seem to understand the meaning behind Tokichi Origami's invitation. With Shirji's ability to understand, she naturally wouldn't think of Tokichi Origami's invitation in that direction. Shirji would only think that this was an invitation from a friend of the same surname asking her out to play. Thus, even though Shiori is very doubtful, she didn't reject him. She nodded in agreement when Wu Yan's face turned red. Okay, I'll be there on time tomorrow. With that, Shirji hung up the phone and looked at the crowd. Origami invited me to go to the city. Do you guys want to go together tomorrow? Before Kurumi, Kotori and Toka could answer, Wu Yan shouted first. No need, no need. Shiori, since she invited you, I'm afraid she won't be happy if we go alone. It's better if you go alone. Is that so? All right then. Shiori didn't suspect anything, but she didn't know what's going on because the way Wu Yan is looking at her right now is a bit weird. It's almost as if he was looking at a pitiful child who was about to step into the road of no return. He was full of pity and gloating. Wu Yan's heart skipped a beat when he heard Toka's words. Looking at Toka's confused expression, Wu Yan felt like he made the wrong choice by asking her this question. Maybe Toka doesn't even know what kind of person she's talking about. As for Kotori, Wu Yan doesn't need to ask. He has lost track of how many times he lost track of himself. Even if he were to talk about the end of the world, Kotori wouldn't change her mind about him. Thus, Wu Yan held on to his last hope as he slowly turned his head towards Yoshino. Yoshino blushed a little and she looked away. Wu Yan caught sight of her shy expression. Her expression was like a sharp sword that pierced through Wu Yan's heart. She didn't say anything, but her expression hurt him even more. With a thud, Wu Yan fell to his knees with his body bent forward. His whole body turned ashen white. I've always maintained a good image in front of everyone. All right, stop fooling around. Kotori waved her hand and said impatiently, they've gone far, let's hurry up and follow them. The four girls left Wu Yan behind and rushed forward. Wu Yan's ashen skin got darker by a few notches. Chapter 508. Heavenly Palace City Center. Two young ladies with good looks were walking on the street. Each of them had a bag hanging from their body. They looked like ordinary young ladies who were shopping on the street. However, this pair of young ladies frequently attracted the attention of passers-by. Of course, these two girls are pretty, so it's normal for them to attract the attention of the surrounding people. However, the strange thing is, the passers-by who are looking at them don't have the slightest bit of appreciation in their eyes. Instead, their expressions are quite strange. Under the strange gaze of the passers-by, Shiori is so embarrassed that she doesn't have the face to see anyone. Her pair of brown eyes are filled with all kinds of unnatural emotions. Even her face is flushed. At a certain moment, Shiori finally can't hold it in anymore. She pulled out an ugly smile at Tabichi Origami. Origami, can you please not get so close? Is it very close? Tabichi Origami leaned her whole body on Shiori's body and said expressionlessly, I don't think so. Shiori's face is red. Didn't you notice that the surrounding people are looking at us? Oh, I think so. Tabichi Origami said like that, but she didn't move her body away from Shiori's body. She ignored the surrounding passers-by's gaze. Her face is indifferent as if nothing happened. It's true, it's true. Shiori screamed a bit frantically. Her voice is filled with madness. She didn't dare to speak too loudly for fear of attracting more attention. Shiori's head is about to explode from holding back her voice. However, Tabichi Origami's tone is still calm when Shiori is going crazy. Please don't mind. Shiori wants to cry, but no tears come out. She can only endure the surrounding people's strange gazes and walk to the next destination. Without a doubt, at this moment Shiori is already regretting. She regretted that she came out for a walk. It would be better if she stayed at home. Thus, under the gazes of tens of thousands of people, this strange duo leisurely walked forward. However, Shiji seemed to have forgotten that the further they walked, the closer they got to the city center, the more people there would be. Shiori's heart is filled with only one thought, and that is to quickly end this journey. Wu Yen, Kotori, Kurumi, Toka, and Yoshino peeked their heads out from behind the curtains. They looked at Shiori and Kitaichi Origami with strange looks on their faces. Kotori gulped in disbelief. Why do I feel like Big Sister and Tokichi Origami are more like a date than a shopping trip? Kotori felt a little guilty when she said that. After all, her feeling is a little too funny. When a girl was with another girl, it actually gave people the feeling that they were on a date. Wasn't this feeling funny? Unfortunately, Wu Yen, Kurumi, Toka, and Yoshino didn't think it was funny. Kwang-san narrowed her eyes and said with a smile that wasn't a smile. I happen to have the same feeling. Fourth aunt clenched one of her hands into a fist and placed it beside her mouth to hide her shock. Her pair of large blue eyes had already turned into a pair of water faucets that were turned off. They were suffused with a thick light. Clearly, she also felt disbelief at her own thoughts. As for Wu Yen, he didn't say anything after hearing the girl's words. Kotori, Kurumi, Yoshino, and the others were the first to realize what was going on. They all knew how long ago this was going to take them to the next level of disbelief. Of course, the words spoken by the last one caused the complicated emotions on everyone's faces to turn into embarrassment. What's a date? Toka asked after hearing everyone's words. Everyone turned to look at Toka. When they saw her confused expression, they looked at each other and froze. Only Wu Yen put his hand on his forehead like he has a headache. After sealing Toka's spirit energy, Wu Yen didn't take her on a date like he did in the original work. Instead, he brought her home. Since they lived under the same roof, Wu Yen didn't ask her out on a date. In the original work, Toka was captured because of a date. Now she doesn't know what a date is. Oh, Toka. Wu Yen pursed his lips. He wanted to explain what a date is. But he thought about it. With Toka's comprehension ability, even if he explained it to her, she would still be confused. So Wu Yen chose his words carefully and said, a date is to go out with the person you like to eat and drink. Go out with the person you like to eat and drink on the streets. 10 fragrances. Amethyst-like eyes suddenly lit up with dazzling light. Her cute face rapidly changed. Then a stream of saliva flowed down from the corner of 10 fragrances' mouth. Kurumi shook her head in amusement. Kotori looked at Wu Yen with disdain, seemingly mocking Wu Yen's explanation. Even Yoshino didn't look at Wu Yen. Wu Yen shrugged. Can't help it, this explanation is the easiest for Toka to understand. Everyone thought for a while. They felt Wu Yan's explanation is reasonable. They didn't know whether to laugh or cry. While Wu Yen and the others are happily complaining, Shiori's side is in deep trouble. Looking up at the building in front of her, Shiori's expression became very interesting. She slowly turned her head and looked at Tabichi Origami, whose eyes were shining with a strange light, and said in disbelief, Origami classmate, are you going to go there with me? Yes. Toka Origami didn't hesitate, as if she didn't see Shiori's expression. Her tone is as calm as usual, but Shiori is going crazy. Are you kidding me? The building in front of Shiori and Toka Origami is a very ordinary tea house. People are constantly walking in. It's obvious that this tea house's business is very good. But the problem is, the people who enter this tea house are a man and a woman. They are very close to each other. Chapter 509. She raised her head and looked at the signboard with the words Couples Tea Restaurant on the building in front of her. She angrily turned her head and walked to the other side. I'm going back. Just as Shiji finished her sentence and raised her foot, a pair of strong hands grabbed her and pulled her back. When Shiji turned around, Toyo Origami's expressionless face appeared in front of her. The corners of Yuichi Origami's mouth curled up into a rare arc that was so faint that if one did not observe carefully, one would not be able to see it. He smiled at Shiji, and this scene that was rarely seen in 10,000 years caused Shiji's heart to feel a slight chill. You. What do you want to do? Shiori's heart thumped. An ominous premonition rose in her heart, causing her to subconsciously swallow a mouthful of saliva. Looking at the extremely calm smile on Tokichi Origami's face, Shiori could not help but tremble with fear. Shiori didn't know that Tabichi Origami's smile is called a black-bellied smile. Let's go in. After saying something that Shiori couldn't accept in a flat tone, Tabichi Origami turned to the couple's tea restaurant and pulled Shiori in with an unquestionable attitude. Don't. Let me go. Shiori struggled with all her might in an attempt to break free from the demon's control. Unfortunately, her meager strength was nothing to Tashichi Origami, an elite of AST. Thus, the two of them slowly but surely walked into the couple's tea house. Wu Yen, Kotori, Kurumi, Toka, and Yoshino watched the two of them walk into the couple's tea restaurant. They didn't recover from their shock for a long time. They went in, just like that? Couple's tea restaurant. Kotori's mouth was wide open. She pointed at the entrance of the couple's tea restaurant. She looked like she just discovered a new continent. She was speechless. Kurumi blinked her wine-red eyes. A wicked light flashed in her eyes and she smiled. "Aw, things are getting interesting. This is truly unbelievable." Fourth aunt grabbed the hat on her head and hid her face under it. No one was able to see her current expression. The only thing that could be seen was her slightly flushed cheeks. "I knew it." Wu Yan's face contorted in an interesting manner. Tabichi Origami is going to attack Shiori. That guy. Kotori clenched her fists and said with hatred, "I didn't expect that Tokichi Origami would have such a hobby even though she looks so smart on the surface. Could it be that the surname, 3-nothingness, is something she uses to hide her true colors?" Kotori's eyes flashed. After a long time she shouted, "No. I can't let Tabichi Origami influence my sister." Kotori was about to walk towards the tea restaurant when Wu Yen pulled her back. "Kotori, what are you doing?" Of course, Kotori rolled her eyes at Wu Yen and raised her hand. "I'm going to save my sister." "I don't." Wu Yen blurted out what's on his mind without hesitation. "If we stop them, there won't be a good show to watch." Kotori looked at Wu Yen in shock. She didn't expect Wu Yen to say something like that. Her face turned gloomy. "So, from the beginning to the end you came here with the intention of watching a good show?" Wu Yen regretted it the moment he spoke his mind. Kotori's tone is like a volcano that's about to erupt. This made Wu Yen even more regretful. Could it be? Kotori's red eyes stared at Wu Yen. "From the very beginning, you already knew that Yuichi Origami had that kind of interest?" How could that be? Wu Yan's gaze wandered. How could Kotori not know the answer? When Kotori was about to bite, Kurumi said with a wicked smile, "Kotori, it's immoral to ruin someone's date." "You call that a date?" Kotori grumbled. "If that's a date, then I have no qualms about ruining it." Kurumi stared at Kotori's face. After confirming that Kotori really wanted to mess with Shiori's date, Kurumi sighed in disappointment. "That's a pity. I wanted to see what Shiori would do." Kotori's eyebrows twitched. Her spiritual tea table was blown away by her. She wasn't the only one who wanted to watch a good show. Toka, who was standing behind Wu Yen and Ko, asked Yono. "Kotori seems like she's going to mess with Shiori's date, eating and drinking. Should we help Shiori?" Yoshino opened his mouth, but before he could say anything Yoshino's sharp voice rang out. With a sneaky smile Yoshino said, Isn't this good?" Yoshino wants to see how Kotori-chan is going to ruin it. It sounds interesting. Alright, let me correct it now. There are not 2 people watching the show, there are 3 of them. Kotori grabbed Wu Yen and she whispered to him. "Remove the seal." "Huh?" Wu Yen was shocked. "What are you doing? Don't make a big deal out of this." Kotori sneered. Kotori doesn't look like someone who would give up easily. If I don't make a big deal out of this, how can I make her give up on this damn date? Kotori's dangerous words made Wu Yen lose his cool. "You're not thinking of..." "That's right." Kotori looked at the restaurant and yelled. "I'm going to burn down that restaurant. Don't you dare do anything stupid." Wu Yen and his friends were shocked. Kotori didn't care at all. Wu Yan's heart almost jumped out of his chest. "Don't forget you can easily lose control of your Reiki." "Of course I know, but that's the consequence of overusing my Reiki. I'm just setting it on fire, it won't affect me." Kotori turned around and said. "Don't talk nonsense, I know what I'm doing. I won't hurt the civilians." "But that's not the problem." Wu Yan couldn't voice his concerns. He's worried that Coterie might accidentally reveal her identity by using her power of spirits. That would be troublesome if that were to happen. After all, Koichi Origami had always thought that his parents had died at the hands of the fire spirit, the Efreet. In other words, Coterie was Koichi Origami's enemy who had killed his parents. Although it wasn't the truth, Koichi Origami didn't know about it. Once Coterie's identity was exposed, Koichi Origami would go crazy. "Hurry up and undo it for me," Coterie said in exasperation. "I'm not going to summon my Reiki equipment or show myself. What are you worried about?" Wu Yan let out an imperceptible sigh of relief, but he is still a bit hesitant. "But it's not good to burn down someone's restaurant just because of that, right?" Don't worry. Don't worry." Coterie smiled sinisterly. "In any case, Ratatosker is lacking in everything except financial resources. We can just rebuild it and return it to the owner after the war." Coterie ignored Wu Yan's petrified expression and walked towards the restaurant. Era, what an extreme little girl." Kwang San tilted her head and shook her head while laughing. "Shido." Toka looked at the petrified Wu Yan and asked with concern. "What's wrong?" Wu Yan regained his senses and looked at Coterie, who was about to set the restaurant on fire. He clenched his fist and said with hatred, "I hate beautiful women." Even she herself felt that after living through today, she doesn't know how many years of life she would lose. Fortunately, when Shiori's heart was about to wither like ashes, a savior finally appeared. On the ceiling of the tea house, a strange flame suddenly ignited, igniting the ceiling. The smoke from the flame floated above the tea house. A loud and clear alarm suddenly sounded. The sound of the alarm came without warning. In the tea house, the couples who were watching Shiori were inevitably shocked. When they all felt the abnormality and heat above their heads and looked up, they were collectively stunned by the raging fire burning on the ceiling in front of them. Fire. At some point, no one knows who it was, but at some point in time someone shouted in the tea house, awakening the stunned crowd. When they reacted, all of the couples screamed and stood up with a face full of fear. Then all of them ran out of the door like their lives depended on it. How? Shiori stared blankly at the fire on the ceiling. She didn't expect to encounter such a thing when she was suffering. Should she say it was good luck? Or bad luck? At this time, Yuichi Origami's quality as an elite member of AST was revealed. She calmly stood up from the table and said to Shiori, "Now quickly go out and take shelter." Shiori nodded blankly and stood up from the table. When Shiori was about to escape, the people in the tea house were almost all squeezed at the entrance. Some of the guys even abandoned their girlfriends and ran out. Looks like after this incident a lot of couples will break up. Shiori and Yuichi Origami belong to the category of girls with weaker physiques. It's impossible for them to squeeze at the entrance with the strong guys. At this moment, the two of them could only stand behind a group of people who were squeezing at the entrance and watch as they desperately tried to squeeze out. They fell silent. If everyone could leave the scene in an orderly manner, they would have already left by now. However, these people did not think about this at all. They only wanted to escape as soon as possible. Little did they know that if they did that, they might really cause their own deaths and also cause the deaths of other people. They should be thankful that this fire was controlled by someone. Otherwise, they would have all died. Humans are always so selfish. Not far from the restaurant, Kwang San looked at the crowded scene and said with a smile. However, her smile was very cold. Wu Yan bitterly smiled. He knows that Kurumi's position towards humans is not as friendly as Toka and Yoshino. After all, Kurumi suffered a lot because of humans. He was able to befriend Shiori because of them. He looked at the direction of the tea house and then he looked at the sky above the tea house and he mumbled. I hope Coterie doesn't go too far. These guys, they really know how to cause trouble. In the sky above the tea house, a small red figure seemed to be able to see the situation inside the tea house. She could not help but curse as she waved her hand in the air and shouted angrily, "You made me consume extra energy to control the direction of the flame. I really want to burn all of you." At the very least, I'll let all of you go home naked. Of course, Kodori won't do that. She sighed helplessly and tried to control the fire in the tea house. It's burning on the ceiling so that it won't affect others. In the tea house, Shiori worriedly looked at the crowded entrance. She whispered, "Are we going to die like this?" Tabichi Origami gently turned to Shiori and said, "It's okay, I won't let anything happen to you." Tabichi Origami looked at the ceiling, looking at the slowly burning fire. Her tone was indescribably firm. "I won't let the important people die in the fire again." Shiori looked at Tabichi Origami but didn't say anything. She also looked at the fire on the ceiling. After a while, Shiori felt a bit strange. "Origami classmate, did you notice that the fire doesn't seem to be spreading?" Hearing that, Yuichi Origami was also confused. "It seems so." Shiori rolled her eyes and pulled Tabichi Origami's sleeve. She said something that made Tabichi Origami uneasy. "Why don't we go put out the fire? Put it out and we'll be fine." Chapter 5:12. High above Heaven Palace City, inside Fraxinus. Today Fraxinus is experiencing a rare moment of tranquility. Other than the sound of machinery, there's no other sound. There's not a single person inside, it's very quiet. It's not an exaggeration to say that it's a rare occurrence in 100 years. In the past, even when Ratatasker's members went on vacation, they would take turns to go on vacation. Fraxinus would never be empty. After all, no one could guarantee when the elves would descend upon the world. Therefore, in today's Fraxinus, all the members of Ratatosker had a collective holiday. This was unprecedented. Therefore, when Kodori announced the day off in front of everyone, the members of Ratatosker immediately had the same thought, and that was disbelief. But it's fine if they don't believe it. Kodori's already given the order. Ratatasker's members can only return home with doubts in their hearts. Kodori's done a lot for Wu Yen. She hid it from everyone in Ratatosker and gave Fraxinus to Wu Yen. How can this be a small matter? In the quiet Fraxinus, the teleportation device flashed with an illusory light. It's a sign that someone was teleported here. The person who arrived here is naturally Wu Yen. The light faded and Wu Yan's figure appeared. His closed eyes slowly opened, revealing a pair of wine-red pupils. He scanned the space in front of him. Wu Yen sensed the quiet atmosphere. Wu Yen couldn't help but smile. Looks like there really isn't a single person left in Fraxinus. Exiting the teleportation device, Wu Yen slowly made his way towards the command room. Along the way, he could hear the faint sounds of machinery running. It made his hair stand on end as the sound reverberated through the silent corridor. The atmosphere of the airship is different from before. At this moment, Wu Yen has a strange feeling. It's like stepping into a haunted house. It's creepy. When they arrived at the command room, this feeling was more or less dispelled. At this time, the big screen in the command room was still bright and the surrounding facilities were still in operation, supporting the normal operation of the airship. It's just that those familiar figures one by one were no longer there. Wu Yen raised his head and sighed. Once he transforms this place into a noble artifact, this airship will no longer be a simple base. If the members of Ratatosker knew that Kodori gave them a day off to give Fraxinus to someone else, they'd probably tear Kodori's face apart. After he transforms Fraxinus into a noble artifact, Fraxinus will be completely under his control. Without his permission, no one will be able to use it. However, Kodori still chose to give it to him. This gift is too big and it's sentimental. Commander Kodori's identity might be challenged. If he doesn't let the members of Ratatosker use Fraxinus, Kodori will become Ratatasker's sinner. Wu Yen hid everything Kodori did for him deep in his heart.